some stuff loses their magic. You know what I mean? It's like,
oh yeah,
it's like if a magician has a nice trick for you, it's a million times more impressive if you don't know how it works.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's a little bit the same. It's the same principle for me with VRChat. I still love VRChat, of course, and I'm still on VRChat all the time. But it lost a little bit of its magic. But that's only because I know how to do most of the things.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Sweet Talking Podcast with me, your host, Nepherti. It's good to see you for episode 53. The third episode of season 5. Appreciate you tuning in. I hope you've been enjoying the season's podcast so far. I appreciate you all tuning in. But before we get started with tonight's guest, who is Heartmarksman, Avatar Creator in VRChat, before we get started, I want to just quickly direct your attention to patreon.com/Nepherti. I'd really appreciate that if you want to check that out and help support what I do. I would appreciate the support. Any support is always appreciated. So, enough with that. Enough with the advertisements. We're gonna go ahead and jump into tonight's conversation with Heartmarksman. They are a avatar creator in VRChat. They've made somewhere in the vein of 60 plus avatars for the VRChat community thus far, and we're gonna learn more about them in just a second. So, thank you so much, Heart, for being on tonight's podcast. Really do appreciate it. It's good to have you here. And yeah, thanks for deciding to be a part of tonight's podcast. Really do appreciate it.
Yeah. You're welcome. I'm happy to be here. A little nervous, very excited. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, don't worry. You know, a lot of my guests usually are nervous, but by the end they're like, "Oh no, that was easy." So don't even worry.
Sure.
But yeah, so I like to start off the podcast typically with a little bit of an icebreaker, just to kind of like talk a little bit about how we ended up meeting. Like basically, the first avatar I bought from you was, I believe it was Frostbite. Frostbite.
Okay.
Yeah, that was like she has like this really cool sword and gun.
Mm-hmm.
And that was actually like I was doing photos of her on Twitter X, and you caught wind of it because like I was tagging you and stuff, and that's kind of how we start like having a conversation and getting to know each other. So that's been really cool. I never thought I would actually get the attention of of an avatar creator, even though I've interviewed other avatar creators before. That was kind of a pleasant surprise. So I'd like to know. Yeah, I would really like to know like your first impressions of me. I know you have many people who love your stuff, but when you came across the stuff that I was doing on Twitter X, what were did you have any thoughts? What were you thinking?
I mean, to be honest, I'm always excited to see. I'm always excited, if I scroll through Twitter or just check random people's profile out on Twitter. In the VRChat space, and I see people that use my avatars or post pictures with my avatars, so I'm always happy. Even if I see it on Reddit, on X, it doesn't really matter where. I'm always excited to see people, or even if I'm just in VRChat, like roaming some public worlds or whatever. And I'm always excited to see people using my avatars. So I always like to talk to them and get their feedback and that type of stuff.
Awesome.
I like it.
Cool. Yeah, I would imagine it's very flattering to be able to like interact and to see people like enjoying your creative work that way. So I'm sure that's pretty exciting. Yeah. I can. Hell yeah. I can definitely relate, as a streamer, people who take the time away to watch me aside from anyone else, it's kind of like the same thing, you're enjoying the creator and what they do, and you're showing your appreciation for them just by, participating. So it's pretty awesome. Cool. All right. So,
I can see that.
Hell yeah. And so, just to kind of start things off, pretty simple. We're not gonna go into like the very deep questions just yet, but we'll start things pretty simply.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah. So basically, if you had to describe yourself to someone who didn't know who you were, Like, how would you describe, like, who is Heartmarksman? How would you describe yourself?
Oh my god, that's kind of difficult, honestly. Like I never really thought about something like this. I don't know. It's like what many people don't know is that I'm German, but I know like many avatar creators are German, so it's not that rare, I would say. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not even that much. I don't think, at least, I'm not even that much of an interesting person. So I know I'm just like a little bean that likes to create things, for VRChat, because I love VRChat. I love virtual reality and everything like that. It was always my dream to be able to do something like this, right? To be able to use something like this. And a few years later, this is my full-time job now, and that is really exciting to me. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just an avatar creator that likes doing it, I would say.
Hell yeah. I mean, that's perfectly fine. I think that makes sense. And like, I was actually going to ask you, because I wasn't quite able to pinpoint your accent, which I usually am pretty good at pinpointing these sorts of things, but I didn't put two and two together that you were German. But that's cool. Very nice. I've gotten to know a German here and there myself, so it's always really cool to meet people from a completely different culture from my own. It's very, very interesting to me. So yeah, I've actually been learning a little bit of German these days. I don't know a whole lot.
Oh?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Why's that?
Why is that? Because I've always been interested in learning new languages in general. I think, and like I was very surprised at how like kind of, I guess, intuitive German is compared to English. It actually is. It kind of just makes sense. Like in terms of how your sentences are structured, there are like a couple of differences, but like for the most part, like English sentences are structured very similarly to how German sentences are structured. So it was very interesting to find that out. Yeah.
That's true. Like for me, like learning English was. I feel like me as a native German speaker, I actually like speaking English more. I don't even like speaking German. I like speaking English more than German. So
why is that?
I can't relate on that. No, I don't know. Like English is just like nicer. It's just nicer to talk to. I'm very used to it, to be honest. But it's just like nicer, and I feel nicer. And like I used to live outside of Germany for like a really long time. And when I came back to Germany, my first few months here, talking German again, I had like a sore throat all the time. So like, I don't know, the German language is just, I'm not a fan, but that's what it is.
Okay, so German is like your native language though, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, that's very interesting. I can't imagine someone from America saying that English is like, distasteful to them, but I know like English is kind of like a universal, like it's like it's the global language that like you learn if you want to like get anywhere in most things. So yeah. So but again, I'm always very impressed that like people from like outside of America have taken the time to learn English, because English is actually pretty hard. Actually a pretty hard language, honestly. The way it's put together, the words that are used, the way you can kind of just swap out different words or leave certain words out. It's a pretty complicated language, all things considered, and doesn't always make sense. Words are spelled the same.
Don't even get me started with German. Don't even get me started
really?
with German. German is so bad. It's like sometimes you have, for the same thing, you have this, like for multiple different things, you have the same word, and they stand in no correlation to each other. So one is like, for example, like a boxer, like the fighter.
Yeah.
And the dog, boxer.
Right.
You have like a dog breed as boxer. It's like the same word. You just say it's a boxer. It could be anything. And there's a lot of things. This is like the I think the example everyone immediately turns to, but there's a lot of examples like this, where it could be either or. It's completely like out of the context, and the grammar, the German grammar is like even a lot of Germans have problems with German grammar. Even native speakers have problems with that. So it's,
yeah, I mean,
not everyone, of course, but it's common.
Yeah, I mean, I think that goes for like English speakers too. There are a lot of people who just don't know how to speak English properly because, like,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
that's true, yeah.
yeah, and for what it's worth, like in English, boxer and boxer still are the same things. I mean, they're
It is
yeah,
the same.
same
Yeah, no, like
issue.
for English it's the
Yeah,
same, but
yeah.
it's
So
true,
yeah, we
it's
can
true.
relate, can relate. So yeah, so continuing with just learning more about you, like how did you
Mm.
choose and land on the name of Heartmarksman? What was the inspiration for that?
Like people ask me that a couple of times now. Okay, so when I was younger, I really liked to listen to the rapper that got shot, XXX Tentacion, right? I think everyone knows this guy, right? He got shot in while pulling out of a dealership in his i8, and one of his first songs I ever heard of him, I think it's like his second song he ever posted to like SoundCloud. At the end, he says, "I'm the Heartmarksman," and for some reason, I thought this is a cool ass name because I liked the guy very much, and I was very sad when he got shot. Like what he made, like it really touched me, especially when I was younger. And yeah, when I was I used to not like I changed my name. Like I started VRChat under a different name, but then around like 3 years ago, I changed my name to that, to what it is right now, and I'm happy ever since. So that's pretty much the story behind the name. It's not like crazy deep. I mean, it's a little bit of a deeper connection to the name, but it's nothing like incredible.
Okay, okay. Nice, nice.
Yes.
Okay. And I know you're an avatar, obviously you're an avatar creator, and you have the freedom to basically create your own avatars. But before you were an avatar creator, what kind of avatars like were you using, and like I guess why did you choose the avatar that you were wearing before, like before you became an avatar creator? Like what was your reason for wearing what you wore back then?
Okay, I was basically before I made my own avatars, I was always wearing like cutesy kind of avatars. I always liked the cutesy pink ones. I used to my favorite avatar creator used to be Cupcake. I think she's a very big creator, very long time. She's in the game for a very long time now, and I used to use her old avatars a lot. And I don't know, they were just like they were different looking. They don't even have that much clothing or that like intricate clothing or anything, but they just looked. The face looked. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like you would have to see it to like kind of understand. But it's like pink, cute with like strawberries on it. It's like my favorite avatar was literally just panties, socks, and then the tank top with like a strawberry milk pack on it. And then like cute like twin tails in white and everything. Yeah. And I really like pink. Like pink's my favorite color.
Oh, okay, okay. There you go, there you go.
Yes.
Love that. So, okay. So, but now that you have your own avatars, like the one that you're wearing now is like this is like completely like your own look.
Yes.
Yeah. Has it evolved since you first started, or has this always kind of been your baseline look?
I mean, if you scroll down my Gumroad page, you will see my very first avatar that I ever made. It was called Mikado, and it was more cutesy looking, but it was looking a little bit like a panda and had like some more comfy clothing. And it was the design. Obviously, people back then liked it a lot. That's why I sold it in the first place, because people asked me for that. But it was more or less just of me learning how to do it, and me getting some assets, because back then I didn't make assets myself. I just took assets other people made, I bought them, and then I put them on the avatar. Like a lot of creators are still doing it, but it's just not my thing. And it was the design was a little bit made because of the lack of skill I had. You know, I just made what I could make, right? With my limited toolbox or with my limited skill set in making all of this, and that evolved. Like I think the more I learned, the more avatars I did, the better I got, or still the better I get, like with every single avatar. And my style evolves in a sense of like I can do more cool stuff, you know. If you make avatars in a way, like if you kit bash, you know, if you kit bash the entire outfit and take assets from different people, it's a different workflow, because you just like, you see, oh, this looks cool, and then I mix it with this would look cool. But for me, because I make my own clothing, it's like I can make whatever I have in my head. I don't have to look if someone made something like this or something that looks kind of similar to it. I just make exactly what I have in my head, and I think that is a huge upgrade over like my older avatars, especially my avatars when I started. They are, my new avatars are better in every sense, but it would be sad if it wouldn't be that case, to be honest. After like 2.5 years.
Yeah. Of course. So, are you saying that you were wearing Mikado when you first like when you I guess when you started making your own avatars? Like, I was wondering if this particular look has evolved from something that you were wearing back then. So I'm assuming.
So you mean my personal taste?
Yeah, like you no, not your personal taste, but like your avatar that you personally use, like for yourself. Like, has your look right now evolved since?
I think since that, it really depends on my mood. I still have like sometimes moods, like in general, I really like the old school design of some of the avatars I have. So very, very often I still switch to some of these like really old avatars. But it gets rarer and rarer, like every single month, for example. You know, it gets rarer the more time I spend in VRChat and the more I do my own stuff. For example, like since I made this one, and you know, this one is for sale right now, right? But I was able to use it much earlier while testing it, while, you know, figuring stuff out, while making it. And since that, like, this is pretty much my new like main and favorite avatar, and it replaced all the other avatars for me. And I can't even tell you why that is. I think many people that, for example, that got this one, or everyone that got an avatar that replaced their previous main avatar, can kind of like tell the feeling that you have when you like when you get excited. You know, you come from home, you come from work, you go home, and you're like, oh, I'm excited, I can go into VRChat and I can use my favorite avatar again. And that's what I kind of have with this one right now. So it changed a little bit because this is like, you know, more edgy. But in general, I think my overall style, like what I like to wear, is just like opened up a lot. It used to be more in one niche, and now it's like open, and I like wearing a lot of different stuff, but still in the same style. You know, there's like the European avatar creators like me, then there's the e-girl, e-boy scene and the booth scene. That didn't really change because I still don't prefer these avatars. I still prefer the style that I always wore. But the theme is like got really widened up, like the theme I want to wear, you know, in that sense.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. So basically, like, you essentially don't make your own personal like you're basically wearing the avatars that you make for sale. You're not like you don't have a distinct one that's yours. Is that what I'm getting? Because that's what I've been trying to figure out.
Yeah. Pretty much. Because all the avatars I make for sale is avatars that I would like to use too.
Okay.
Like I'm not making an avatar. I'm not making an avatar that I dislike. Like if I dislike an avatar, or if let's say I'm working on a new project, and there's something I dislike that makes me dislike the avatar, I work until I like it. I change stuff around, I retexture things, I delete stuff, I change stuff until I like it. because I can't, like, for me personally as an artist, it's very difficult to make something I dislike. You know what I mean? I just can't do it. I don't know.
Yeah, so you have to be able to want to wear it yourself, essentially.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool. I mean that makes sense. I always imagine that like other avatar creators that I've interviewed, they typically have a look that is obviously in the vein of their style, but it's an avatar that isn't for sale. It's like they've made a look that is just for them, and you can't buy it anywhere. So that's very interesting to find out that like you're generally wearing the stuff that you're making, not really making a unique look for yourself. Okay. That's interesting.
I mean, if I don't wear it, like, why should other people wear it? You know what I mean? That's what I think.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's like, if I don't wear my own avatars, like, I should be the one wearing my own avatars the most, right? Because I make them. That's how I see it. That's how I see it, at least.
Okay. Nice. It's an interesting perspective, and I definitely appreciate that. It's good to know. I guess we can jump into VRChat stuff. We can move into that.
Sure.
So when it comes to VRChat, like what got you into it? Like what was interesting about it? How were you introduced to VRChat, basically?
How I'm introduced to VRChat is interesting. So, as a younger guy, I had my I think a lot of people in my age, like, I don't know if you, like, I don't know if you know personally, but I'm I'm 27, and so people know, like right now, like, I'm 27, and when I was younger, when I was like 15, 16, you know, I watched a lot of anime. And there was like a lot of anime about, like, you know, anime is like, for example, Sword Art Online, right? And there's like other animes that were like game related, and I was always like so excited of these like themes. And of course you have stuff like Matrix, you have other things like that. And it was always really like, I'm playing video games since I'm a kid, you know, like, my mom always said, like, as soon as I was able to hold a controller, like, I was playing GameCube, or I was playing Game Boy. Playing Pokemon or whatever, and I was always interested in that. And for me, like, virtual reality was just the most interesting thing ever, because it was like in the shows that I watched, like in the movies I watched, like, it was just like I was so eager when back then when I was a kid. I was like watching these shows, and I was like, please, in my lifetime, let something like this be possible, you know, as a kid. And of course it was silly, but now I'm here, and now basically almost all of this is like possible, you know, to a certain extent. And not only that, now it's my job, and I can do it as much as I want. You know, it's great.
Yeah. So when did you first find out about VRChat? Like, what year?
Oh. Do you want me to say the year, or do you want me to like have like the whole rat's tail, like why I started playing VRChat in the first place? Do you want to know everything? Or
Yeah.
You just want to know?
No, you can go into detail. Yeah.
Okay. So, I don't exactly remember when. I think it was probably like 2018, maybe 2017, maybe at the end. And no. It was, I think, 2017, something around then. And I played VRChat a little bit. I don't even know where I found it. Maybe I found it through some YouTube videos of people like talking with people in VRChat. But it was like, I was playing VRChat in desktop, and I met a couple of people, and I went online every day, you know, in desktop without having a VRChat, to just talk to people. And then I stopped. Because I moved from Germany. I was living in Germany again back then, but I moved from Germany for a couple of years. I moved to Japan and to live there, and I had to come back to Germany, and I couldn't renew my visa. It was sadly I couldn't renew my visa. And after I came back to Germany, I had a really hard time, like, mentally. And I felt really lonely because all of my friends that I had back then, they were doing, you know, life happens, you know, people move away, people are busy with jobs. And I just I was a little lonely, and I just started up VRChat, and then the Quest 3 came out basically. The Quest 1, no, the Quest 2. The Quest 2 came out, and back then I didn't have much money, so I was like eagerly waiting for like a VR headset that's like in my budget, and then the Quest 2 came out, and yeah, that's pretty much how it started. So I think the Quest 2 came out like 2018, maybe 2019, something like this, right?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure myself.
Yeah, but when the Quest 2 came out, is basically when I started playing VRChat like religiously almost. It was the beginning of the end.
Yeah, I mean, it usually starts off that way. You get yourself a headset, you jump into things, and you just kind of get hooked. You get hooked. But yeah, like what was what was it about VRChat that I know you said that you were going through some difficulties when you came back to Germany. I mean, can you go into a little bit of detail about like what was going on?
I don't mind. I mean, when I came back to Germany, I wasn't. I went to. I came back from Japan, not voluntarily. My dream when I was a young kid was always to live in Japan. And I was able to do it, right? I was living there, I had my own apartment, I had friends, I had a girlfriend and everything, a partner. And then all of a sudden, they were like, okay, we can't renew your visa. And I was working back then as an English teacher for kids, for elementary school kids. I was teaching kids like, oh, this is an apple, this is a car, that type of stuff. Not really anything like too difficult. But even they couldn't help me. And they were usually like, oh yeah, usually we can help people if something like this happens. But they couldn't do anything. And it wasn't really, I never had like problems with the police in Japan, like nothing. It's just like they didn't like me or whatever. Well, I was just unlucky. And I had to come back, and it was basically they took, like I had a fully furnished apartment, like everything. They took basically my whole life away from me. And then I was back here in Japan, back here in Germany, and I lost everything. And that was really, really hard for me.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was younger too. If you're younger, stuff like this hits you harder. I think, like the older you get, the more like
resilient to deal.
Yeah, exactly. It becomes easier to deal with stuff like this, with setbacks. But yeah, this was very, very hard. Very, very hard to deal for me. Like it took me a couple of years actually to like get over it fully, to be honest. But I guess it was for a purpose. Like now I'm here, now I'm happier than I could ever be, and so at the end everything so far turned out great. So it is what it is.
True. And yeah, I mean that is a wild story, but I know like Japan does have it does have a tendency to be very, very harsh towards foreigners. For no reason really. So it's.
I mean, Japan is an incredibly safe country.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
In Japan, back then, my ex-girlfriend was a small girl. Like she was tiny. It was a tiny Japanese girl, and in not even for a single moment, I was scared or she was scared to walk in the middle of the night through the streets. You didn't even look around. You didn't even look at your back once. When you walk through at night through Japan, even if it looks like some sketchy like neighborhoods or whatever, there's what Japanese people call sketchy neighborhoods. That would be the most wholesome areas we could imagine in the States or in Germany. It's crazy. And this environment that they create, it comes at a cost, I would say. But it's just my opinion, it's like, it's whatever.
Hey, you're entitled to your opinion, and I think that's perfectly reasonable, honestly. Like, I've actually lived in Japan myself for like 4 months, only 4 months, for a semester, basically. So,
you probably know what I'm talking about, right? It's like incredibly safe. It's like incredibly safe and incredibly clean, and like German and US cities, they could just never.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm not even mad. I'm not even mad at the end of the day that they kicked me out. It's just like, it just is what it is. It is what it is. Like, actually, right now I could move back to Japan if I want to, because right now I'm like self-employed, I have my own company, and I would get a visa immediately if I would apply for one, but I don't. I stayed here.
Okay, yeah.
Where I am right now.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely understand staying where you've you've built up something where you're at right now, and it's too much of a hassle to kind of like uproot everything and move back there. But like,
you get some things that keep you to a place, right? Like sometimes, you have, I don't know how to say the word in English. It's like you have things, you have things you pay for. You have not a mortgage, but something like a mortgage, right? That you cannot just be like, okay, I'm gone now, I don't pay this anymore.
Right.
That type of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's just like you have. I think you know what I mean. I can't. The word for it for the life of me right now.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, like you have responsibilities that you have.
Yes,
responsibilities. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Obligations that you've established.
Yes.
Yes. So
Exactly.
yeah, totally get it. Yeah. All right. So back to VRChat. So what was it about VRChat that made you want to stick around? Like when you first got into it, obviously it was like obviously it was virtual reality. It's so cool. It's so interesting. But after a couple months, it's just like the novelty of it kind of goes down. Like it's not really as interesting, because everything isn't no longer new. So I guess what was it about VRChat that made you stick around?
I mean, I don't know. It's like hard to pinpoint that. I think the community, the people, and I really like that no matter who you are or what you are in real life, and VRChat, everyone is the same. If you're a nice person, if you have a good character, then people like you. And if you're a douchebag, no one likes you in VRChat either. You know what I mean? It's not like it's more. It's like apart from all the like physical, like it's apart from your physical appearance, from your social status, from all that stuff. Like what I always say is like if you start loving someone in VRChat, it's more real than like meeting someone in real life, because there you have like all the things that go with it, with like, oh, does this person has a lot of money, or is this a beautiful person, is this person like that type of stuff pretty much. And obviously in VRChat it's a little bit too, if this person, like, oh, this girl is very beautiful in real life, and that type of stuff. But it's not what you have like first impressions. First impressions is like voice and like how the person acts and talks, and I like that. I like it very much.
Okay.
And it's the other thing is like it's safe. Like I'm sitting in my room right now. There's nothing that could happen to me. There is. I don't have to go anywhere to socialize. I really like that because I'm a little bit of an introvert. I don't have to go anywhere. Like it's cheaper, if you wanna like go and socialize with people in a bar or whatever. It's like you have to pay for drinks and all that stuff. But here you don't. It's cheaper. It's nicer, and it's in a sense more real because you don't have all the judgmental things. In a way, and then everyone is a cute anime girl. Like, how could I be like? Yeah. Not like everyone look at us, we are beautiful.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
it's hot.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's that's.
I don't look like this IRL.
Of course. I wouldn't expect that, But yeah, that is definitely facts. Like it's the community in VRChat is pretty creative, pretty well-rounded, pretty interesting. And like you were saying, like, oh, if you're a douchebag, nobody will like you. I was thinking in my mind, well, just find out the douchebags. You'll get along just fine.
Yeah,
that's usually how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
right.
Yeah. So but yeah, VRChat's community is it's varied, and I think a lot of people who get only like a one-dimensional view of VRChat, like they see like the content that's usually put out on YouTube. They see maybe like certain kinds of VRChat streams, and they think that that's all VRChat is. It's like memes, and sex appeal, basically. And like, sure, it is those things, and like VRChat's history.
It is a big part of VRChat.
It is, yeah.
Understand, but yeah.
Yeah. Like those things do exist, but I think people like tend to restrict themselves and put themselves in this mindset of like, oh, there's nothing else for me beyond what I have come to know VRChat to be. So what was it about VRChat that aside from the community, like, I guess, how do you oftentimes spend your time in VRChat? Is it like, well, I'm not gonna guess, but like, I guess, how was your time in VRChat spent compared to how it is now for you? Like when you first got into VRChat, how was it different from then to now? Over the 4 years and such.
I think it's very different now. At the beginning, I was more like in awe with everything. I was like looking at worlds a lot more. I was more into the whole tech side. I was always like a tech nerd somewhat. So at the beginning I was like really into the tech side of this everything, like this working. I was really interested in fancy worlds and all that stuff. And this never really changed. I mean, what I always did a lot was sleeping in bed. Like I used to do that a lot. Like I used to, when I had my hardcore VRChat phase, I was like, working for 8 hours, and then coming home, eating something, taking a shower, and then playing VRChat until I fell asleep in VRChat. And then when I wake up, like sometime in the middle of the night, like 1, 2, 3, 4 a.m., I took off the headset and turned off the PC, and then slept the rest of the night until I had to wake up for work, like a normal person.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my life for like 2 years almost. And when I started making VRChat, when I started making avatars, and it changed a lot. And I think most creators, they can really most creators have the same experience, because as soon as you make stuff for VRChat, and as soon as you understand more about the whole process of making things, some stuff loses their magic. You know what I mean? It's like,
oh yeah,
it's like if a magician has a nice trick for you, it's a million times more impressive if you don't know how it works.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's a little bit the same. It's the same principle for me with VRChat. I still love VRChat, of course, and I'm still on VRChat all the time. But it lost a little bit of its magic. But that's only because I know how to do most of the things, right? Like I never made a world, but I know in theory how to make a world. You know what I mean? Or like if I look at the other person's avatar, back then I was like in awe. I was like, oh, that's so cool. It's like, oh, look at this part of the outfit and this and this. And right now it's just be like, oh yeah, I could do this. Yeah, that's no problem. It loses a little bit of its wow effect, because yeah, I know how it works more or less. But also the time spending in VRChat got less, because I just work more.
Right.
Like after I quit, after I was able to quit my job, doing avatars, I pretty much turned to like working on avatars every day for the majority of the day, and then sometimes after I stopped working, I have other games I want to play as well, not just VRChat, right? And then sometimes, especially if a new game comes out that I like a lot, like I'm just playing this after working on VRChat. But it's always a little phase sometimes, but always when the avatar is in the stages where it's ready for VRChat to test, to test everything in VRChat, then I play more VRChat again, because then VRChat is kind of, in the working process. And once I'm in VRChat, I'm staying in VRChat for the rest of the day. Usually. So, yeah.
Okay. So when you first started in VRChat, you said you were looking at worlds. Were you just predominantly looking at worlds? And like, so now your time in VRChat is different because now you're essentially using it largely for work purposes. It's not so much as to look around and go to different worlds and like look at different places, but you're using it more so to just test out your avatars and maybe hop on for a little while after you do that. Is that how you largely spend your time in VRChat now?
I mean, I don't really go world surfing or world hopping anymore, and I don't play games in VRChat. The stuff I use VRChat for right now the most is like work and like just spending time with people I know, or just socializing. I use it like for socializing and work pretty much. But I don't really go to like random worlds anymore. I go to my usual places, And some places even have like huge nostalgia for me. Like for example, the world Rest and Sleep. Like a few years ago,
I know that world.
I was sleeping in.
Yeah.
I was sleeping in this world every day. I was sleeping in this world every freaking day, like alone or with other people together, but always in a public world, And everyone that slept in the public world in Rest and Sleep, like a couple of years ago, they know the desky people that come. They were like, "Are these people really sleeping? That's weird. Wow."
Yeah.
The visitor deskies. It's funny. And that kind of died down actually. Like I was sleeping in a public Rest and Sleep yesterday actually. And it didn't happen. Didn't happen again. Back then it happened all the time. Interesting. But yeah, that's pretty much how it changed.
Okay. So, I know everyone interfaces with VRChat differently. It's always really interesting to hear like what people's experiences are here. Like your experience in VRChat is different from mine, which is different from someone else's. But there are a lot of like I'm sure you're aware there are like a lot of events that go on in VRChat. A lot of like things that go on. Maybe there are things that are hosted by VRChat, and maybe hosted by other like venue creators. So, do you ever go to these any of the events that are like hosted by VRChat, or go to any venues to like listen to music and DJs? Are you involved in that at all?
Not really anymore. I used to go to these like usual VRChat, the VRChat dance events, that were really, really popular, like I would say 2 years ago. I think that's where when they were in their prime. And I used to I forgot that I used to dance a lot in VR. I used to do that a lot, and I used to go to these events. But there was more when I was spending all my day in VRChat. Because I think if you spend all day in VRChat, you go more to events like this because you have more time, I would say, and sometimes you have downtime, right? You have downtime, or like friends are not online, or your friends go to events like this, and then you go with them. I don't really have that anymore, and to be honest, I'm not really that interested. Like I'm not that comfortable in like big groups. I usually like small groups, cozy vibes. That's my thing mostly.
I can relate. Like like despite me, being in a variety of different places, I do prefer smaller groups, one-on-ones, like this. I'm definitely like much more inclined towards that, and I think that's just because of being introverted. I'm also an introvert myself, so I definitely can relate for sure. I only go to large events when I feel like I have a reason to be there. It's very specific that I end up in those sorts of places. So yeah, definitely can understand. So what is one thing about VRChat that you appreciate, and what's one thing about VRChat that you wish could improve?
I appreciate how how to say. But I mean, there's a lot of things I appreciate about VRChat, but it's like things that are not really it's not really the fault of VRChat itself, like the game, right? I think what I really appreciate is the community and the people. That's like my favorite thing about VRChat. And a thing that I would wish to change is just like, I think the developers of VRChat, and they made some questionable decisions in the past, and they definitely improved their decision making in the past or since now. But there's still a lot of things I would like change. Like, for example, the age verification that they did now for everyone with VRChat Plus is a big step in the right direction. But VRChat lost a little bit of its like Wild West charm that it had back then. And that was, for me, it was really interesting because, you know, I grew up with the internet. I loved the I used to browse 4chan when I was younger. The wild part of the internet where everyone could say whatever they want and could do whatever they want. Of course, there's bad stuff that happens like this, but there's a lot of like positive things that came out of this as well. So that's a little bit a little thing that I would wish it would come back, but it's really hard to do because, you know, if you have something that can be used for, that is powerful in a sense, then people will use it for good and for bad, and you know, you want to avoid people using it for bad things. Yeah, I hope that answered your question.
Oh yeah. It did. But I'm going to kind of push a little bit further. Yeah. So what is it about, aside from it being like the Wild Wild West, you know, back in early VRChat? What are some things that you miss about, you know, how VRChat used to be, comparatively to how it is now? I know there have been some people who have said, I've heard from various people that, you know, they miss how VRChat used to be, like how things were in the past. Or like, what are your thoughts about that?
I think VRChat is a very different place now because it just got more popular. You know, VRChat is not a mainstream game by any stretch of the imagination, but it got more mainstream. So more, I always say, like, maybe it sounds always like insulting, but I always say, like, a lot of normies are in VRChat now, and it's a lot of people that are not really like, for me it used to be like a haven for degens, you know, for like nerds that really like the stuff, and now a lot of people that are just like normal people. There's a lot of normal people in VRChat now, and like, sometimes if I go to public worlds and I'm just looking at the people, I'm just like, this is not how it used to be, because how it used to be would be like nerds, and it was more of a familiar feeling. I don't know, it was more of like a familiar feeling with the community, because the community was smaller and it was more of like an outcasts, you know, it was almost like outcasts were like collecting in VRChat, and it was like for me it felt always a little bit like that.
Okay. So, okay, understood. I don't come from that time period. I got into VRChat in near the late spring of 2022. So that was my...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm still fairly new, but I've learned a lot because I've taken the time to really understand the culture. But obviously, you know, I've only learned about like early VRChat from videos and such. So, but my perspective is a little bit different. I think VRChat is just getting better. I think it's improving. The technology is improving and getting better. The things that are possible in VRChat are becoming more abundant, and I think it's only becoming a more robust creative platform for those nerdy people who are doing those sorts of things here.
Yeah, but I definitely know that you're totally right. You're totally right, but I think it's more of a nostalgia thing. You know, it's like if you talk to a person that likes cars, right? For example, like me personally, I like cars too. But if you talk to a person that likes cars, of course, like all the new cars, all the brand new cars with their fancy tech and everything, is much easier to drive, much nicer to drive, and everything about them is better. But it kind of lost a little bit of its charm. You know what I mean? Like the VRChat lost a little bit of its old school charm. And I think a lot of things are like this. You know, if you ask a person, you know, a person at our age that played Pokemon games as a kid, and then you play the new Pokemon games, they kind of lost their charm. You know what I mean? Like the old school Pokemon games, they lost their charm. I think it's a little bit of nostalgia, like talking out of me, honestly. Like, I'm aware a little bit.
Okay. I mean, I think that's reasonable. Like, I like to talk to people who are from that time because it does provide a different perspective for a lot of modern day VRChat users. You know, like I'm technically one of them, but it's good to just understand a little bit more about that and how what that's like, why people feel that kind of nostalgia for, you know, the simpler days, the basic days. So like,
Yes.
yeah. So it sounds like you still go to Publix. Like, is that like a regular thing you do still?
I mean, regular is a harsh word for that, but I like to go to public worlds quite often. Yeah, like if I'm in VRChat and if I have nothing else to do, I'll go to public worlds and like just hang out and like look at people. Like sometimes I'm just sitting there like looking at the mirror, you know, do the good old mirror dwelling. And just look at people, like listen to what people do, like just hang out, listen to music, maybe look at the stream on an overlay in front of the mirror, just be surrounded by people, but not necessarily be like social with them, whatever.
What about group Publix? Like for someone who is you seem very experienced with public worlds. I don't really frequent Publix very often. I do it like maybe like once or twice a year just to kind of keep things fresh for me, to remind me of what VRChat really is like for a lot of people. It's not it's not these niche experiences that I typically go to.
Yeah.
So it's nice to be reminded of that every so often. But like as someone who typically does that, like as your general experience in VRChat now, how would you say group Publix differ if you've gone to group Publix before, which I'm assuming you have? How do they differ from regular Publix, like the baseline experience for like the newcomer in VRChat?
I mean, you have two types of group Publics, right? We both know it. And every VRChat player knows it. Is you have the safe for work groups. And you have the non-safe for work groups that are officially not allowed to exist, but everyone knows they do. And the safer work groups, I have not. It sounds so bad saying this, but the safer work, like I don't even have that much experience with like groups in the first place. Like I don't know if you can even see it. Like I don't even have a group represented. At least I don't think so. I even have groups turned off because it was just annoying me, like having this like all of a sudden,
the
like,
banner.
Back then when I started playing VRChat, it was just a name, no icon, no nothing. It was just a name, and I turned chat boxes off. I turned all that stuff off. But with the groups, I don't like. I have my own group, my own Heartmarksman group, but to a lot of. I don't go to much groups, to be honest, but what I've heard and what I've noticed from the few times that I went to group worlds is like it's more, you know, people with the same interests go there. So it's less of like a random experience, because going to a public world is always a random experience. Like everything could happen. Like you could get into a fight with someone. You could meet the love of your life in a, you know, say it in a dumb way, or you can just meet your next best friend that you play games with for the next few years or whatever. Like everything could happen. And I think in group worlds it's more like streamlines. Like everyone that goes there has kind of the same interests. You know, shares interests or shares reasons to be there, let's say. And yeah, if you have the non-safe for work groups, you know, everyone goes there with a certain interest in mind. You know, a certain thing in mind. And yeah, I think it's overall the group thing I think is cool. but I don't really use it that much myself, to be honest.
Okay. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Yeah. Yeah. I definitely kind of took to groups pretty quickly. I think that's a great way to. I think it makes the experience of people who are new to VRChat. It's much easier to find people of liking interest because of groups. So I think it's kind of streamlined that integration with the culture a lot easier. So, but you're from the Wild West, so it's just like you don't need that. Yeah. So I understand.
Yeah. Like back then, you just went into a public black cat, and then everything could happen. It was pretty much you went online. Like back then, you went online in VRChat, and like everything could happen. Like I loved the soccer. Like you don't see it because I don't have face tracking, but you see a little smiling right now, thinking about the old times. It sounds like I'm a grandpa, but the old times were just like more exciting, more random. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I like I said, like that's why I try to like. In order to keep things fresh, I try to pop into those just every so often, just to remind myself of that. So it's really, really good, really good. So how do you feel about the what are your thoughts about the age verification thing? Do you have any particular thoughts or feelings about that?
Oh, it's a good thing. No, it's a totally good thing. Like the thing is, I'm critical. I was at the beginning. I was critical about it because. In my opinion, I wasn't happy with the choice of company they partnered with, but then after researching it more and stuff, it was just like there's not that many companies that allow that, and VRChat is really niche community, and for them to find a partner that consistently does it probably wasn't that easy. So I changed my mind about that like a lot. And the other thing I saw recently people were complaining about is that only VRChat Plus users or VRChat Plus users were able to use the age verification, but it costs VRChat money. Like I'm sure every single age verification costs them money. So it has to be paid somehow. And if you're an adult in VRChat, like if you're an adult and you play VRChat a lot and you need the age verification thing, like the age verification is not just there that, oh, I'm 18, it's like people use that for a certain use case. If the world you want to go to needs an 18 plus age verification, you have the money, you have the $10 to spend to get that age verification, and after that cancel VRChat Plus. Like if you're 18 plus and you don't have $10 to spend on VRChat Plus at least for 1 month to get that age verification, then I don't know what to tell you. Like maybe you shouldn't play VRChat. Like maybe you should do something else, at least until you're like out of that situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, your time should be spent, trying to make a living for yourself and not wasting it away.
Wasting it. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel that. I feel like I don't see anything wrong with having it connected to VRC Plus. Again, like VRChat is not. No. It's not a profitable company. It's a startup. They have investors who are basically giving them money. They have to basically raise money every year to keep afloat. They somehow manage to keep this going 24/7, 365 with 98% uptime. It's kind of crazy when you think about it, but somehow they managed to do it. And people complaining about giving VRChat $10 is kind of ridiculous.
I mean, I didn't have VRChat Plus for a really long time. Because it was very, I had a grudge against them after ruining my game, quote unquote, with easy anti-cheat.
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
But because easy anti-cheat was that turning point for me, where VRChat started to be, okay, VRChat is not this niche thing anymore. VRChat needs easy anti-cheat now because VRChat has investors now. VRChat is people have their eyes on VRChat. The public, and quote unquote, has their eyes on VRChat now, and that's when it kind of lost this Wild West charm for me. So I for a long time I had a grudge against them for doing that. But they make that back then we had, I don't know, were you playing VRChat before that?
No,
the-
yeah, before Easy Anti-Cheat, yeah, I was there. I was there for when that came out. Yeah.
And it was like, I don't know if you used, but we used to use mods, like
Yeah,
all
oh, yeah.
types of mods to make our
Mhm.
right. And there, I was so used to them, and then it just took all of it away, and did not give us any replacement for it. And now they give us a replacement for almost all the quality of life features, but you know,
At the time, yeah.
if you at the time it wasn't there. So back then my opinion was like, get these updates out first and then take it away from us. Why do you take something away from us and do not give us a replacement, and then like want us guys to be happy about it, you know? And then they not, because people were very angry, and then they had to do something about it, right? And then they had to bring out all these features. But imagine we imagine the VRChat community they weren't vocal about it back then. Like all of this, like all these quality of life changes possibly didn't even happen if the people didn't like review bomb the game and all that stuff. Of course, like
Yeah.
review bombing a game is not a nice thing, but it's like sometimes it's a reality check for the developers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I that happened around the time when I just started my podcast. So like I was a lot of my earlier guests that were talking about Easy Anti-Cheat at that time too. Now the hot topic is age verification, I guess. So you know it's really been interesting to see how VRChat has evolved and just how the conversation has changed. And like it's good that it's good that the community is vocal about the things that they like and they what they don't like about.
As it should be.
Yeah, you should be vocal about
As
the
it
things
should
that you
be.
care about. So I think it's perfectly
Yes.
fine. Yeah. So when it comes to just technology in general with VR, do you have any hopes for VR in the future? You know, there have been people who've said VRChat is not VRChat, but VR virtual reality is essentially going to be replaced with something better in the future. As someone who really likes technology and that sort of thing, do you have any thoughts about where you'd like to see VR go, or a future where perhaps it's replaced with something else?
So VR in general, I think virtual reality is definitely, so first of all, I think it's definitely future. I think we all have seen all these like people that be like, oh, VR is dead. Like I remember it was like after a few months after Corona, and everyone took their headset off, so to speak, and was like back into the real world. And then VR usage had a huge dip, like all the gaming media, and they were like, everyone was like, oh, VR is dead now. The new MetaQuest headset didn't sell as good as the previous one. You know, it's just like, I think this is all silly. I think VR and XR in general, you know, AR and VR are like clearly the future of entertainment. In my opinion, clearly the future of entertainment. And I would like to get more integration. I mean, like look at things like Neuralink. You know, the company from
Neuralink.
Elon Musk.
Yes.
Neuralink. Yes. This type of stuff. If you can combine this with like an XR or like a VR experience, I think that would be the goal ultimately, right? Like if you like I always have it in my mind. What would be nice is like you can like actively dream, right? I saw on a different podcast. Where you had there was an interview with Elon Musk, for example. Like he said, like what they would be able to do in the future if his vision goes through, is like, you know, you can turn off anxiety. You just press a switch, you can turn off anxiety. Yeah? You can make every food taste however you want. You can you press a button and you can laser focus on work or doing something that you like, or you press a button and you fall asleep. you know, that type of stuff. And like, imagine you can just like lay down in your bed, close your eyes, and then you play VRChat. For example, you play VRChat, right?
Yeah.
But as a full dive into it, basically, until you just log out and then you wake up again. That would be, I don't know, that would be my personal dream. I don't think this will happen in my lifetime, but that would be amazing. And if it's, you know, I think like something like player
Ready Player One.
like Player Ready One.
Ready Player One.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I think this is obviously like a little character, right? Like it's a little bit like over the top. But I could see something like this happen in the future. Maybe less grim, but something like this, I could see happening in the next like 10 years or something like that.
Yeah, honestly,
if Meta, if you know, if Meta and ByteDance and all the like social media platforms keep doing what they're doing and it gets more popular, I could see something like this happen, and I would kind of want it to happen, you know. Like, I have no problems with that.
Okay, yeah. Like I'm very much in agreement with you. Like I'm a very big fan of you know, the idea of like immersive technologies, and you know, and having those very very integrated experiences. But the way that we imagine them is like, I think obviously it all starts with having ideas and imagination. But I think the ideal version of like what is, I guess, feasible, I would say, would be like the sleeping version, like being able to, like, similar to like Black Mirror. I don't know if you've watched that series. Yeah, like very much like the little thing that they attach to their forehead, and like they just kind of like just flip a switch and like they're in, kind of thing. And it's that just comes with like a deeper understanding of like how neurology works, like how the brain works. Because if you can understand how you can turn things on and off, you know, we are just electrical signals. Like our existence, our consciousness are just electrical signals. You know, in a floating vat in a meat package. It's very very interesting if you kind of boil it down to that. Yeah, it's so I think it's possible if we can learn how to harness those technologies and make things and make it a little bit more interesting for a lot of people, but also help a lot of people. It'll all start with medical.
Yeah, of course. Like if you see, for example, like there's a lot of you know, I totally understand. If for example, these days, for like obvious reasons, there's a lot of people that dislike Elon Musk, for example.
For sure. Yeah.
But we need people like this that focus on creating stuff like this and putting their money into it, right? But like if no one puts their money into it, there's no development in this area. And at the end of the day, I don't give a shit who does it. Like I just want someone to do it. And if it has to be a person I dislike, for example, or someone else dislikes, you know, it is what it is. Like the most important, like of course, like what I want to say is like I don't like Meta that much, but it did a lot for VR with the cheap headsets and stuff. You know, it's just you can dislike and like companies and what they do, of course, but we need people with a lot of money and a lot of dedication to research in that direction, because if we don't have that, we will not get any new breakthroughs,
right,
in these directions, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of people who don't like companies they're basically emotional reasoning. They're not really looking at it from like the broader picture. They're just saying, oh, this person did this and said this, I don't like them and I don't like their company. They're not looking at the broader spectrum of like what they're actually contributing. They're having an emotional reaction.
A lot of people, and a lot of people, they are like I'm not a black and white person, right? For me, it's like, you know, there's a lot of shades of gray between them, and it's like I can totally agree with it. Like I can dislike a person, but if the person says something I agree with, I have no problem saying that, right?
Yeah, two things can be correct at once.
If a person that yes, and if a person I like, that I usually think says the right things, says something wrong, I have no problems calling them out. Or saying, oh yeah, they usually I agree with them, but this was shit. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I think a lot of people have problems with that these days.
Yeah, creating nuance in their opinions. Everything has to be like
Yes.
it has to be all or nothing, and I think that's very like
Yes.
that's not nuanced thinking. It's very, I think, immature thinking in a lot of ways. But unfortunately, a lot of people think that way, which is not really thinking at all. It's just like it's purely just like a reaction. So yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you there. So I do want to talk to you about another idea that I've typically ask people. Do you feel that like your time in VRChat, that like time seems to move and flow differently in VRChat than it does in IRL for you? Like, do you feel that maybe like your time in VRChat is perhaps slower or faster for you, depending on I guess your time here? Like, I guess the depth of your experiences and in relation to the time that you spend in VRChat. Do you find them to be like faster or slower? Do you have any sort of sense of that?
It really depends. It really depends, to be honest, if I'm bored in VRChat or if I have fun in VRChat, right? And for me personally, I think I know what you're hinting towards. But for me, I don't see a difference in how the time passes. Like, if I have fun doing something, playing a game in a flat screen game in front of my desk, time flies by too. If I have fun in VRChat, time flies by, and if work is very busy, time flies by, right? But if there's a slow day at work and you don't have much to do, like, it feels like time is standing still as well. So I think for me personally, I see no difference between time in VRChat or time IRL. It just all depends on what you do in both situations.
Okay. That works for me. All right. So, all right. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground, VRChat wise. I think we have a pretty good picture of your experiences in VRChat. That's good. So let's go ahead and jump into your the meat potatoes of what we're talking about here. Potatoes, yeah. So avatar creation. So what were you doing before you did avatar creation? What were you up to?
I was in my work-wise.
Yeah.
I was working as I was working in a company. I was working as where all I was working at a car shop that modified cars for people with disabilities. So I don't know if you know a person with disabilities in real life, or but everyone that does knows that there's a lot of this, like, you can still drive a car if you sit in a wheelchair. You can still, like, as long as you're like mentally 100% there and you can at least move one arm, like, you can drive a car. And I was working for a company. I was in the parts section. So this company needed a lot of parts to like build these custom systems for the cars. And I was like in the parts section. I took care of the storage, all these parts, and ordering new parts, ordering ordering new parts, and if part was broken, I made it or whatever. I don't know where right now. I was just like taking care of the parts section of that, and I was the supervisor of this part of the company, pretty much, yeah.
Oh.
But I wasn't happy at all. It was stressful, and I hated my boss a lot. He was not the nicest guy to be around with, honestly.
And
at least not for the most part.
And just out of curiosity, how long did it take you to get into that line of work after being essentially a teacher in Japan? Like how did that how did that go? And like we'll stick with that. Like, how long did it take you to kind of find that?
That's actually I applied So before I went to Japan, I had a few months left. I had a few months left where I had nothing to do, and because I came out of a apprenticeship. So in Germany, everyone does an apprenticeship and then you go to work. I mean, most people do an apprenticeship because you can't get a job as a job where you need experience. You know, like an experience like a skilled job. Like skilled job, you always have in Germany. You have to do an apprenticeship, and usually that apprenticeship takes like 2 to 3 years. And after my apprenticeship, I was just tired. I was just tired of everyone and everything. So I decided to, plan my stay in Japan. And between my stay in Japan and the end of my apprenticeship, so to speak, I had a few dead months or a few empty months, and I was applying at different companies for work for these couple of months. And I went to this company before and asked if I can work there, and they said they would love to have me, but because they're looking for a long time employment, not just for a couple of months. And then I just went on my way, right? But when I came back from Japan, I went back to the company. I was like, hey, you guys remember me? I was the guy that went to Japan. And I come from a really small town, like a really, really small town. And like not everyone, but a lot of people know me for like, oh, this is the guy that was living in Japan. The guy from the small tiny village in Germany that went to Japan, to live there. And so I got a job there, and after a few months working there, the supervisor quit. And then my boss was looking at me. He was like, "You know how everything works, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Well, you just got a promotion." You know what I mean? And yeah, that's pretty much how that happened. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. So at what point were you comfortable? Like, at what point did you have to get to be comfortable to leave that job when you start making avatars? Like, how did you kind of understand that for yourself to like kind of, okay, I'm this is successful, I can live on this and I can quit now? Like, what did you kind of understand that?
So my best friend, for example, he has his own business as well. He is a personal trainer, and he has his own company, and he has his own employees now. Like he has basically opened a company that does personal training, and he has his own personal trainers now. His own people that help people with their how do you say that, with their food, with their food intake, that they should take the right meals, right, to lose fat, and with their diet.
Yeah,
like dietitians.
Yes.
He has own dietitians that work for him, and he knew I was doing these avatars, and he always asked me, was like, oh, how's it going, this and that. And after just some time, he noticed that like these avatars, they make me almost as much money, or like as much money as my full-time job did back then. And then he looked at me, I was like, why don't you quit your job? And he was looking at me, he was like, you hate your job, right? I was like, yeah. And he said, just quit it. Like, you're young, like, what, even if it doesn't work out, like, what could happen? Like, if it doesn't work out, you just get a new job, like, who cares? You're still young. And of course, it's like always a big step, right? You're scared doing it and everything, but he like kind of pushed me into it. He was convincing me, and then one day my boss was like really shitty to me again. I was just like, I went home and I wrote the
resignation letter.
We had like a notice. Yes, exactly. And then the next day on the job, at the end of the job, I sent him like an email over the internal system from the company, and I asked him to have an appointment. And he knew that in Germany, if you have your own side hustle, you have to ask for allowance when you have a full-time job. Like your employer of your full-time job has to agree with it because you spent the time after work that you're supposed to rest.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
That's definitely
And he knew
German, because that doesn't happen in America. Yeah.
That's Germany is crazy about this type of stuff, but that's a different book.
Yeah.
But yeah, he knew about it, and then I came with this like letter in his office, and he looked at me and he was like, "You quitting?" And I looked at him and I was like, "Yep, sure I do." And I remember when I started that whole thing, he was like, "Oh yeah, like being self-employed it's very tiring. It's so like this person really tried to like turn me down with that type of stuff, even when it was just a small thing, right? Because as soon as I made money with it, I had to register a company in Germany, and as soon as I registered the company, I had to tell my boss about it, pretty much. So.
Okay.
He was always like kind of trying to hold me down. At least that's how it felt like to me. And for me, it was very scary, but it was a little bit of
A weight off your shoulders.
like I was breaking free, you know. Yeah. I was like breaking free of the shackles.
Yeah.
Of the shackles, you know what I mean? It was very nice. But it was like I can tell you already, it's like it was a scary time. It was a scary time because I remember. I think the second Avatar or something like that I released when I started doing it full time. Or like no, there was like one Avatar I released shortly after I started doing it full time. There was just like nobody got it, like almost nobody got it, and it was. I remember sitting in front of my seat. I was like,
Yeah.
I was just like, oh my god, that's bad. Like you just quit your job and then like something like this happens. But since then it's pretty much, you know, it was a lot of times, like a lot of, you know. The numbers went up, and they still do, but slower now. Like I got a pretty huge boom at the beginning, and now it slowed down. You know, the curve slowed down a little bit, but and like I have nothing to complain about, pretty much.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like it's, you know, starting like doing anything on your own or starting something like outside of like a traditional job is always very, very scary. Like I know exactly what you mean. Like I've tried to do it multiple times, and like this whole thing, like this is new for me. Like I still haven't quite like gotten to a point where I'm like, you know, getting noticed for like doing these podcasts. I kind of still just do them for the sake of doing them, even though I have like. This is number 53, so, you know, it's still quite a lot. So, you know, I understand. And, like, even for streaming, which I started doing full-time last year myself. So, you know, it's very, very scary because literally anything can happen. Like, your entire livelihood is in the hands of, you know, the work that you do and the creative output that you produce and just how people respond to it. It can be very scary, for sure.
Yeah, like, imagine in Germany, for example, if you're sick, you have sick leave. And it's paid by the government. But if I am sick right now and I can't create things for a month, I don't make money. I mean, I still make money with people buying my old avatars, right? But I don't make new ones. And my income would basically be like, would plummet to not even 10% of what I would make now. I would assume at least that's what I think, and that's a scary thing, right? Like you have to be like you're completely responsible for yourself.
Yes.
Like 100%. Like you know if you have a full-time job and you work for someone else, like the responsibility of your livelihood is still on you, kinda. But if something happens, like in Germany, at least I talk from a German perspective. I know in different countries it's not like that, but you know if you get sick or anything, Germany takes care of that, and that's one big plus point about Germany. But I don't have that anymore, you know, or not to that type of extent, right? If I now get like with the German healthcare system, if I now get permanently ill or like ill for a really, really long time, for like as soon as I think in German healthcare system right now, it's like as soon as I get sick over 3 months, after 3 months, they pay me a huge percentage of the money I made before I got sick. But that's 3 months of not getting most of my income. Like that's bad, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, stuff like this is scary.
Yeah, but it's definitely like very it's liberating to kind of do your own thing, and I that's what I love about it. It's like you're completely responsible, but you're completely in control. It's your thing, and I do like that sense of independence, especially when it happens to go really well. You know, and one can only hope.
Yes.
One can only hope. Like I think it's pretty wild. Oh wait, wait. I was gonna say it was pretty wild that like you quit your job before you make enough money, but you actually were making enough money just from like your initial stuff. Yeah. Okay, so how did you, I guess, figure out like what kind of avatar style did you have? Like, what was your inspiration when you first started making avatars, and how has that changed to what inspires you now to have different ideas and make new things?
So it was pretty much back then when I was still not making my own assets. It was pretty much, I saw a cool asset, like a cool jacket, a cool hoodie. I was like, okay, I want to make an avatar with that. Or you know, I saw a cool haircut, and I was like, I want to make an avatar with that. But these days, where I make most of the stuff myself, it's just like, I see this video game character from Zone Zero. I'd be like, oh, I would like that as a VRChat avatar. And of course there are the game rips, you know, where people take the game model and then make an avatar out of it. But that's not what I want, you know. I want the fully fledged VRChat avatar, you know. And usual game models, they are not made for like viewing them in first person, like up close, you know. But in VRChat you can go all the way very close to your own body, to other people's body, and so everything has to be so much higher of a quality than even for modern AAA games. Let's say this sleeve that I wear right now, and like I don't know if people watch the podcast actively, they can maybe see what I'm talking about. But this sleeve, for example, it has so much additional detail that you would never see if this character or this model would be in a flat screen game. But because of it being a model for VR, there's so much more detail that has to go into it to make it feel good. And I like especially the whole detail thing. I mean, you using my avatars, I think you can vouch for me that I put a lot of effort into like small things. And I think what has changed for me in the majority, especially as I said, since I started making my own assets, it's just like I can make whatever I want. I see this character, I want to have this as a VRChat character, I just make it. I just make it. And every idea that I have in my head, I write them down. You know, I create like somewhat of a character sheet. I create like a little file, and I drag a lot of pictures and references into it, and then I just open Blender and I just start.
Okay. Yeah, can you tell us a little bit more, since you got into it? Can you tell us a little bit more about your entire avatar creation process? Like, how do you, from start to finish, if you could?
Like nowadays?
Yeah, how you do it nowadays, yeah.
Yeah, so you have the base, right? So the first thing you have to do is you have to decide which base to use. Typically VRChat creators, they take a head, they take a base, put them together, and that's what you would do first. Me, for example, I have my own base that, not my own base, but I bought a face that I like, I bought a body that I like, I put them together and changed a lot about them. So I changed how they've been rigged. For example, I changed the feet on the base you were using, because I just didn't like how they look. And I changed other parts about it too. Maybe made some parts thicker, some parts thinner, some parts bigger, sometimes some parts smaller. And then as soon as you have the body shape down, you make the clothing. In my case, you make the clothing. You know, for other people, again, they buy the clothing and then they fit it to the body, but I make the clothing. So what you do is like you use different programs like Blender obviously be probably the most popular program to do 3D models with. You basically use a 3D model software and then you create the assets. So me, for example, what I do, for example, to create a nice looking t-shirt like the one I'm wearing right now is like there's cloth simulations that you can use, softwares for that, and then it's almost like sewing your own piece of clothing but like virtually. And then you put it on this avatar mannequin, and then you can kind of like fiddle with it. You can literally like grab a piece of the fabric and pull it, you know, be like, oh, pull here, and then it reacts accordingly with physics and everything. It lays around the body that you gave it as a reference, and then you can just click pause, and then it stays like this. And that's where you export it, put it onto the avatar, and then you put more detail into it, maybe change a few parts that you didn't like, clean up the topology of it, to make it more of a functioning asset for VRChat. And then you cut it up into pieces. It's called UV mapping. And that's basically, I don't know if you have ever looked at a texture, at a flat texture, but it kind of looks like someone cut up something. Like if you ever looked at a texture for like a League of Legends character, for example, you see the face like weirdly cut up and flattened out on like a... Yes. And that's basically what you do. You cut up a model into seams, into singular parts, to lay them out flat on a texture, and then draw onto it, so to speak. And this part of the texture is then this part of the mesh. And that's what you do. For example, with t-shirts, with a t-shirt like this, you pretty much would set the seams at the same positions a seam would be in real life as well for a shirt, before it would get stitched together, right? And after that is done, you take it to a texturing software. You can do texturing with all kinds of drawing all kinds of drawing softwares. You can do it with Photoshop. You can do it with all types of these tools. But I use a dedicated tool for 3D drawing. It's called Substance Painter from Adobe. And this makes it very, very, very easy. It makes it very, very easy to create effects, to give it more of a realistic look. As you can see, for example, you see here, this looks like it's
been sewed,
scene, right?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. But this is just an illusion. Like all this, you see this fold over here. Like if you look sideways, if you look around, you can see this is not existing. This is just drawn on. And this is what you do with this texturing software. You give it the illusion of like looking like something real with textures and different types of maps. You have your normal map that puts like micro details like this fabric pattern into it, and you have metallic maps that tell the shader how metallic certain parts of the asset should be. You have height maps that tells the shader, okay, this part of the mesh has a different height than this, but just a drawn on height. It doesn't even have to be modeled, so to speak. There's a lot of crazy things you can do with these softwares, and it's still for me, if I see like a real industry professional working with these, it's mind-blowing to me what they can create with the same tools that I use to make the avatars.
So even now you're still impressed with like what other people are using the same software that you're using it for? Like you're impressed, but can you make out like what they did, or is it still just like, oh, that's still beyond my skill?
Yeah, no, I can definitely. Like if let's say I watch a speed texturing video of like a professional texturing artist, Like I understand what they're doing, but for me it's just like sometimes it's mind blowing how they can get so much more out of the same tool that I use. Like there's so much headroom. It sometimes it's like blows my mind how much more capable the software is in comparison for what I use it. I mean, I get better every time I make a texture, or I get better every time I look at other people that are better than me with it, using it, because you steal some techniques they use, and think about how you can implement them into your own workflow. But there's still headroom, but it all depends on what you can do, and especially the way you make assets, 3D assets, changes a lot depending on what you use them for. Like making assets for VRChat is a whole lot different than making assets for like a flat screen game, for example. It's not totally different, but it's a lot different in the way you go over it.
Okay. Well, how about we got the nitty gritty of your process. So actually, wait, you didn't finish your process. Like you just went into like how you kind of piece everything together and build everything.
True, yeah.
Yeah. What about the rest of it?
The Unity stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. There's you're right. Yeah. Obviously there's like Unity after, where you take the VRChat tools, the VRChat SDK, the developer tools basically from VRChat, and then you implement their systems onto the avatar, and you implement the stuff that you want with their systems, because they give you a certain tool set that you can use, and then you create your own systems with it, and make the avatar change colors, make him change between t-shirts, give him all kinds of degenerate features. I think everyone that spends a lot of time in VRChat knows
Yes.
what I'm talking about. So it's this one. But if you ask most like VRChat creators that are doing this for a long time now, I think almost everyone says, Unity is the part you don't want to talk about, you don't want to acknowledge that it even exists, because it's annoying. It's a lot of like, it's not really creative, you know what I mean? The Unity part is not creative. It's just like, okay, let me put in all these, let me make all these animations, and it's just like, it feels, the Unity part feels more like work, because there's less creativity.
I see. Okay. Gotcha. All right. Well, how about the, what were we gonna say?
I mean, after you have the Unity part done, technically the avatar would be done, but if you sell avatars, it's a different thing, because then you have to create advertisement material. You have to take pictures of the avatar, as I said, create advertisement material. You have to create a page online where you can buy it. You have to test the avatar, make sure there's no bugs, no clipping, no nothing like this. And some creators do that more than other creators, and you don't even get me started on that. But if you have all of this done, then a fully fledged for sale model for public use, or for the public to be able to purchase it, would be done. But even then, a VRChat update could come anytime and break the previous systems that they implemented in an older version, and then you have to go back and fix it. Or not, if you don't care. Some don't.
Okay. So, what goes into the process of testing? Like, what does testing an avatar look like for you?
The good thing is, I have people that test avatar for me. So my the head moderator Saku, that is basically my little helper. I mean, I have more little helpers, but he's like the testing wise, he's like doing most of the stuff. And you know, he does like yoga. He does like yoga with the avatar. You know, goes into the weirdest full body poses to check if there's like clipping anywhere. And you know, you go through all the toggles, you mix and match all the toggles to see is there any error in the logic. And if all of this is done, you know, then you have to export the package, and then I send it over to them. Then he does everything like a customer would do, and sees if there's any problems that appeared after exporting it, or problems that appear after the package would be used on a person's after a customer purchased the package and downloaded it and then started using it. If there will be issues that it will appear, then he tests that for me basically as well.
I see. Okay.
Yes.
So I'm actually gonna jump backwards, and we kind of jumped right into the nitty gritty of like, you know, you and avatar creation, like the process and everything. But I want to actually kind of go a little bit like to like the very basics. Like, what got you into avatar creation in the first place? Like someone who's into cars and into like nerd culture and technology. Like, how did avatar creation become something that you are now like doing for a living at this point?
So I was always creative. So as a kid, I was already, I was drawing, like in my free time. I was drawing as a young kid. In my free time, I was drawing Pokemon. I was always creative. I was always drawing. In school, I was really bad in school. And what I did all day in school, because I didn't want to listen to what the teachers had to say, I was just drawing all day, and it was like, I was just creative, And I never really had an outlet. I never really had an outlet for them. And when I was back then, when I was a customer, so a person that bought models, I had a few unpleasant experiences with VRChat creators, with avatar creators, and I was just like, okay, fuck these guys. I'm learning how to do that stuff myself, so I can make my own avatars. And because I never really had a creative outlet, as soon as I was able to do something with it, my mind was just like, okay, let everything out, I can let everything out in that way. All the creativity I have piling up in my brain for the past 20 years, I can just let it all out. And that was really nice for me.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it was just it was a natural progression of like, I like VRChat, VR avatar creators are not really like, making the stuff the way that I want them to be made, and now I'm just gonna do it myself with all the all the ideas and all the desires of being creative that you had in the past. So it was just natural progression.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they didn't do it hard. They didn't act and did stuff the way I liked it. So I was just like, okay, I make it myself then. Pretty much. Yeah.
Okay. So like, I want to say, how did you kind of establish your own? Well, how about this? Your process. What is not quite what your process is, because we just talked about that, but how did you go about learning these skills to make avatars? It's one thing to have the creative desire, it's another thing to build up the skill set to actually make the things. So I know you said earlier, like when you first started, you were just taking assets and just kit bashing things together. So how did you go about kind of like building up the skill set over the course of, you said like 3 years you've been doing this for?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Okay, so like over the course of like 3 years, like, yeah, how did you kind of like, what was your learning procedure for increasing your skill set each time you made an avatar?
Okay, So the very, very basics, basics of creating your own avatar, I was taught by a friend of mine. She used to be an avatar creator, a quite popular one, but she doesn't really do it anymore, and she's not really that active in VRChat anymore. But back then she taught me the basics. Her name is her Discord, or like the creator name back then was Baby Girl Ari. So a lot of people that are maybe really OGs of VRChat maybe know her avatars. But she taught me the basic with tough love, to be honest. With tough love, she taught me how to do the very basics. And from then on, I was just addicted. I was like, people always ask me how I learned Substance Painter, for example, the texturing software. And I literally told them, I was like, yeah, I used to fall asleep every night watching tutorials. Or watching videos how people use the software to create things. I just watch, like all the information you need is on the internet. And if it's not, like, of course, like this is a niche, right? But you can apply the knowledge you get from, the issue that you want to fix. You can apply someone fixing a different issue. You can apply the same procedure to fixing the issue that you have. And I was just like looking at tutorials all day, like yeah, that's pretty much. I was just looking at tutorials all day. If I didn't know how to do something, I was googling it. I was watching tutorial how to do something like this or something similar to this, and then I was just like, I do it until I figure it out. Pretty much, yeah. Just like, I was just obsessed with getting better, and I still am obsessed with getting better. But the curve slows down for me a lot. Like, it slowed down. Like, the better you get, the harder it is to improve. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's something.
Yeah.
Or like, you will still improve, but the improvements are in smaller steps.
Of course, yeah. So, what was your biggest, I guess, skill jump? Like, what would you say, like, between what points of like your avatars that you've created that you had like the biggest skill improvement based on what you've released so far?
That's quite hard to say, because I release a lot of avatars, and so the steps are small. But I would say one of my first avatars where I made the majority of the clothing myself were a huge step. And I think right around, so I used to use a different base and a different face than the one I'm using right now. And after I switched over to that, so basically after I switched making over, like, at some point I started making avatars that have face tracking capabilities. And I think from then on, like, my quality went up by a lot. The whole avatar quality went up by a lot. So I'll probably say mid to early last year, I think my quality improved a lot. And since then it's like on a steadily, like, it was a jump, and since then it improved steadily at a stable pace. But the first face-tracked avatar, and now this one is my newest face-tracked avatar. There's, again, maybe not for the people that like my work, but for me personally, I can look at both models and I could be, okay, like, back then there's a lot of things I would do differently now,
Mm-hmm. Have you ever considered...
And it's just...
go ahead.
And it's just the efficiency is totally different. So now I'm like the more I do this stuff, the more efficient I get into it. Like, sometimes when I talk to other creators, I get to comment very often that they say, like, how can you be so fast at doing what you like, doing all this stuff? And I'm just like, I like mid-max my workflow like I'm a professional, like an esport player would do, you know, mid-max they like gameplay. You know, that's what I do with my work. I want to be as best as possible, as fast as possible, because there's another thing we didn't talk about yet, and so maybe I can just throw that in right now, is that in my opinion, for any reason, I don't even know for what reason, but I can see me not being able to do VRChat avatars full time for the rest of my life. I think that would be foolish for me to think I could do it for the rest of my life. And if one day this is not working out anymore, I don't want to stop doing what I'm doing. I want to do the same stuff. I still want to be creative. So for me, what I use these avatars as well for is like learning how to be efficient and learning and automate this stuff so I can work as a professional game designer or like a professional texture artist in a game studio one day, you know, and at a game studio like Rockstar or whatever, you know. Any game studio would be fine, pretty much. I mean, not any game studio, but you know, a nice one. Any of the nice ones would be fine. And you know, if you go there, you have to be efficient. You know, like they give you work that you have to do, and they give you a time frame. And if your coworkers can do it, you have to do it too. If not, you're out. You know, that's how it goes, and that's why I want to be as good as possible in what I do.
Okay. Yeah. So, so with avatar creation, like your style, I imagine, kind of varies depending on what you're going for. And obviously, you said you've changed around your choice of head and body over time. So, how did you come to establish your? Do you have a signature style? First of all, like, I guess that's like my first question.
If you're familiar with my avatars,
Which I am,
I have a signature style.
I mean, okay.
I think.
I can let me. I'll guess. Is it? It's mainly like a lot of them have been combat related. Like you have like a lot of them have like certain weaponry. Or they're like fem oriented for like, you know, femboys or just the girl versions too, you know. So that would be my guess, that they're usually kind of like weapon oriented.
That is not. I wouldn't say that personally. I mean, if it's like this for you, you know, who am I to take this away from you? But,
no. You tell me. What is that?
But for me, it's the art style. In my opinion, every person that creates art has a different style.
Right.
Like no matter, like even if you try to make something like someone else, you can only, in my opinion, you can only do it to a certain degree. There will always be this hint of this person in it, right? And for me, like my art style is what my avatars are all about. So if for example a person that's not really too familiar with my avatars, if they see maybe an avatar from 3 months ago and my newest avatar, they would be like, they couldn't tell if it's made by the same person. But if you tell someone that's familiar with my avatars that I made this avatar, if let's say if you give someone an avatar that I didn't make, but tell them that I made it and they're familiar with my work, I think they could tell that it's not made by me, you know, or they would get suspicion and be like, that looks different, you know, or it has a different vibe to it. But theme-wise, I'm all over the place, you know, because I like everything. I like all types of stuff. You know, I like, you know, the avatar you have right now, it has a huge flamethrower. But I have avatars with katanas. I have avatars that are just, this one is just comfy. This one, there's no weapon on this. There's no weapon on this. This is just a comfy avatar of nice hair and like, you know, a little bit, you know, suggestive here and there. And maybe a little more, but yeah, and it's just like, I think it's the art style that is my signature. And maybe, the face, right? Like, if you look at the other avatars that came out around this one.
Yeah, they
you can
have
kind of see
very similar.
They have this similar face and similar body shape, and yeah.
So
Yes.
So
I mean, this one, for example, is very, very different. Not very different, but it's a little more different from what I used to do. But the avatars going forward again will probably resemble this one a little more. So I always said, it's like, for example, I sometimes say, okay, this is a Heartmarksman 1.0 avatar, this is a 2.0 avatar, and this is a 3.0 avatar. It's like, like sometimes I do like huge steps in what, I make huge changes to my overall design philosophy, and then I call it like a new update or whatever, a new version of avatars. Yeah. If that makes sense.
It does. So like, do you like to design your avatars? Like, I know you said it's your art style, which makes sense, but like it's mainly the kinds of themes that you lean into, and that you tend to like focus on for a certain period of time, and then you kind of move on to a different kind of theme. Because honestly, like there are some similarities, I think, with like clothing designs that kind of like resemble like the Heartmarksman style, but like, because this is like so like inspired by Zenless Zone Zero, and like you've done like Frostbite looks like something from Code Vein, for example, so like that's kind of where I was kind of wondering where does your style like center on, because your themes are very strong and you lean into like very specific things while creating your own spin on said theme. So
yeah. Well, it's something. It's basically it's a mirror of what I do, like in my free time. For example, Zenless Zone Zero, I made a couple of Zenless Zone Zero inspired avatars before, and it's because I like the game. Like, it's one of my favorite games to play, and I like a lot of these characters, and so I'm like, I want to see them in VR. I want to turn them into a fully functional VRChat avatar and put my own spin on them. And for example, at the end of the month, the new Monster Hunter game will come out, and that's one of my favorite game series of all time.
Okay.
And probably when this comes out, I'll probably make an avatar that's inspired by Monster Hunter, or that type of stuff. If I see online, if I see a character from a video game that I used to really like, or that I really like, that I think are aesthetically pleasing, and in my opinion it could make for a good VRChat avatar, then I just do it. I just do whatever I think would be cool. There's no theme. Like, I could make a totally edgy goth avatar, and the avatar release after that could be like a wholesome white and pink, like flower girl or something like this. Like, it's just, for me, it's just how the avatar's made is my signature style, but not the themes. The themes are all over the place. Because I create too much avatar, I create too much content to have it be always the same. I know there's a few, I don't want to call anyone out, but a lot of creators, they basically release a new avatar and it's the same avatar. I mean, it's the same style, just different clothing pieces. And it's like, always, like, sometimes you don't even know if it's a new avatar or if it's just the same avatar with a different outfit. With a different pants or a different hoodie, So, yeah, I try to give and I think that's a little bit where my success comes from, because, like, I have, like, all types of stuff. Like, on my avatar store, there's like an avatar for almost everyone. For every types of mood, every type of, every preference of design, let it be an edgy avatar, let it be a colorful avatar, a punky avatar, everything you could want almost.
And I think another part of your success, I would say, would also come from how you've, I guess, have made your avatars very much kind of flexible to like appeal to people who are of the femboy variety of VRChat user. So I think there's some interest there as well. Like, was that something that you knew you wanted to do from the start, or was that something that you kind of leaned into later on?
The first I didn't make avatars like this from the start, but back then when I made my first like femboy able, like my I used to be my signature, so to speak, used to be avatars that can go from female to femboyish, or more like gender fluid avatars. And back then, when I started doing it, it was just no one was doing it. And sometimes when there is something no one is doing, then people are not doing it for a reason. And I discovered that the reason is that it's just very fucking complicated to do this. It's just a lot of work. But I did it the first time. People loved it. And then I was like, well, if people like it so much, then I guess it's worth the effort, And of course, it on some avatars, even if it's not even possible on certain, because you have to stretch out the capabilities of clothing meshes a lot. Like, and obviously you can make everything work somehow. But I wanted to look aesthetically pleasing while doing it. I wanted to look polished and high quality while doing all of this. And sometimes I can, for example, this avatar right now, it does not go flat-chested because I can't be able to create this feature with my quality standard. And if I can't do it, I don't implement it.
Okay, so it's not a must for your avatar creations these days. It just depends on what you're looking, like what the goal is. Like, do you determine whether you're doing the femboy style like before you start, or like in the middle of like creating it?
It depends. It depends when I'm fully done with the design, pretty much. If I look at the design and if I look at the assets, I can already tell, okay, this is possible, this is feasible, or this is not feasible, so to speak. Of course, you can make an avatar. You can make an avatar with this in mind, but then you would, like, I would limit myself, and I don't like that. I just do whatever I want, and if I can make it work, I will. If I can't, then I don't. This one, for example, I couldn't make it, so I didn't do it.
Okay. So I one of my favorite qualities about your avatars, and one of the things that really drew me to your style to begin with, was your attention to, not only your attention to detail, but how you really like doing the weapon stuff. Like the weapon assets are really, really cool. And that was one of the things that really drew me to your style. So like, where do you get that inspiration from? And how difficult is that to do? Like implementing like weapon assets and to make them work the way they're supposed to?
So it's not that easy. Like sometimes, I mean, in VRChat you can make a lot of stuff work, but it's just whether or not I am capable of doing that, or if people that can help me out are capable of doing it. There is always a way of doing it. I think that you can make almost everything, but it's just a question of like, okay, are you able to do it? Do you know anyone that's able to do it that can help you with it? But in general, I just look at, for example, if an avatar has a weapon system, maybe the weapon system is inspired by something I saw in a game. And if I see it in a game, I immediately, like if I see something cool in a game like this, like a weapon or whatever, I immediately think about it. I'll be like, could you make it work in VRChat? Would it be cool to use in VRChat? Would it be cool? Would it be worth it? Would it be even possible to do? And if the answer is yes to most of these things, most importantly to the like it's possible thing, or it's possible for me, then I like including these things. But the overall thing about these weapons is like, I'm a little bit 50, like I'm glad you like them, but me personally I'm a little bit 50-50 on them, because it's, at the end of the day, it's just like a party joke, you know what I mean? You whip them out once in a blue moon, be like, hey, look, this cool thing my avatar can do. You'd be like showing him the weapon, and then you put them away, toggling them off, and that's it, you know?
Yeah.
So these weapons are not really the focus of my work, but it's like the cherry on top, I would say.
Gotcha. Okay.
To make to give the avatar its party trick, you know, so to speak.
I mean, that's true. But like, you can make some really cool photos, which, you know, like I've done with I guess most notably with Frostbite. I haven't really used you know, the flamethrower that Blair has. I've only taken out in public like once, really, because like it's so big. It's such a large asset, which, you know, I think it looks really cool though. Like the fact that it can actually like shoot fire is really freaking cool.
Light up the world too, right? It's so much more immersive that it lights up the world around.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really laggy. It's laggy, especially if you don't have a good PC. But it's just like, sometimes it's just cool, you know. Sometimes, for example, with the flamethrower, I was just like, it would be cool. It would be cool to make this, and then I do it. You know.
So what is the hardest? What is the hardest part about what you do? What is the most difficult aspect of avatar creation?
That's a good question. I mean, I think for every creator, it's different. Like for me, it's really hard to say what is the most difficult part about it, because there's, I would say, it's difficult. Because I'm at this point right now where I can almost, like, at least asset-wise, I can make almost everything I want to. And I know how to do it. So it's not really difficult. It's like a matter of like do I want to spend this amount of time on it? Is it like worth spending time on? Because me doing it professionally now for money, like sometimes I have to, you know, weigh out, okay, do I spend 3 weeks on this insane thing that people use once, be like, oh, that's cool, and then turn it off? Or do I not do that? You know what I mean? So it's always like, okay, is it worth putting my time into this? But I think the most difficult thing for me personally will probably figuring out some more complicated Unity logic. I think that for me that's the most difficult part, figuring out like the more complicated Unity logic. But for the most part, making avatars, everything I want to make that would be possible, I can do without breaking a sweat a lot, really. But it's, you know, it's a given. If you do it for 2.5 years full time and you create over like 60 avatars, like, you know, it's at some point you know, VRChat only allows for so much, you know. And yeah.
So, how do you go about creating like the facial expressions? Like, how do you determine like where to put them? Like there's actually one little, I have one little nitpick about Blair actually. On when you press the right trigger, she makes this face. So like I have to, yeah. So like, I guess, how do you determine where to like put that's like my only nitpick about the avatar, honestly. But like, how do you determine like what faces to animate and also how to like place them on the controller, like where to activate them? Is that like really difficult or a standard that you use, or?
For me, it's just like so the faces the avatar makes for the expression, is there like I like making them as expressive as possible. So I'm looking at, anime facial expressions, or like facial expressions characters have in manga and all that type of stuff. And I just look at them and be like, okay, maybe I can put something like this, because anime and manga face expressions, they're really expressive, like overly expressive.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like that. So that's usually how I do my expressions. And then I do the expressions that I would think I would nice to use. Everyone, like an angry face. A face that is like kind of suggestive looking, or a face that looks sad, a face that looks a little like annoyed, or a face that looks confused. And then, for example, with the angry face, I think you notice that if you make a fist with your hand, then the avatar turns angry. And like, if you're angry, what you do, you make a fist, you be like,
Yeah.
and then this makes perfect sense to make a fist. For some expressions, there's no right or wrong way to place it. It's just like a preference of like, what do you want where. And for me, having the fist gesture be the angry one makes sense from a logic perspective. And at the end of the day, I place them where I like using them the most. And it's really, really easy to change them around. So if people don't like it, I think a lot of people these days are able to just take the angry animation and drag it there, and then drag the other one down here, and then it's very easy. If I would show you, it would be like, oh, that's how easy it is to do that.
And like, that's done in Unity, right?
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, I mean, I definitely would like to, I want to build off of this space. Like, I really have, I've really come to enjoy Blair a lot, and I really like appreciate like her look. Like, I've been looking for like a look like this for a very long time. I've been in VRChat for 2.5 years. Something that's both cute and also badass. Like something that has both that feel to her. Like, how do you kind of figure out what kind of like baseline facial expressions that you use for your avatars? Like, how do you figure out which one works best? Like, it's essentially like they're resting their default face.
So how the resting face should look like?
Yeah.
You mean?
Mm-hmm.
So with the resting face, it really depends on what vibe you want to have for the avatar, right? If you want to have a character that is supposed to look cute, like what you wanna do if you wanna make an avatar look cute, there's the secret sauce. I'm spilling my secret sauce. Maybe it's secret sauce, I don't know. But if you make the avatar look a little sad, like a tiny little bit sad, and make the eyes are bigger and the eyebrows swoop down a little bit, then they automatically look a little bit more cute, a little bit more adorable. And if you make the eyes smaller, if you make the eyes longer, and the lips maybe a little bit bigger, and the chin a little bit more pronounced, like they look more, they look less cute, they look more like, how do you say it? Like more, I don't even know, you know what I mean, they look more like, and not, I would say aggressive, but more like hotter,
like intense,
but less adorable. Yes.
More
exactly.
mommy.
Yes.
Mm.
Pretty much like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Pretty much. Yeah. Yeah. It just depends on where you want to go. Like what fits the vibe of the avatar.
Okay. So, males. There's a significant lack of male avatars on the market. But I know you do femboy, style avatars. What are your thoughts about that?
About male avatars?
Yeah, and like, would you ever do something like that in the future?
I mean, I did male avatars before.
I did
2 male avatars before.
Oh, God.
The problem is, I did 2 male avatars before, yeah, but the problem with male avatars is the customer base for male avatars, even though the majority of the VRChat players are male, would say over 50, like way over 50% of the VRChat player base is male. The majority of the avatars being used are female. I would say 75% of the VRChat player base, in my rough estimations, obviously I don't know the numbers exactly, I would say 75% of the VRChat player base is male, but 75% of the avatars being used in VRChat are female or feminine looking. And if you rely on the money that the avatars make you want to make something that attracts that the majority of your customer base likes, right? Like if I would make a male avatar, in my opinion, I could be wrong, of course, I could be wrong, but right now at least I think if I would make a male avatar, it would not be as popular. It would not be as popular with as much people as a female avatar would be. And it's just like at this point, yeah, I mean in the future I will definitely, this year I will probably make a male avatar. Like don't pin me on, don't quote me on this, but I would probably make a male avatar this year. But I already know it from like a financial standpoint, and I sadly sometimes have to work on a financial standpoint because I have to pay rent,
business.
I have to pay. Yeah. It is a business at the end of the day, right? It will not do, most likely will not do as well as a feminine looking avatar. It's just what the market is like. Mm-hmm. And if you do a male avatar, it's usually the extreme e-boy looking avatars that are bought. And I know, I don't want to say there aren't people that would appreciate a male avatar in my style. I know there would be quite a few people in my community that would, but would it be enough? That is the question.
Right.
Would it be enough for me?
Worth the investment.
Be worth spending that time instead of spending the time on an avatar that would speak to more people,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the question. But I want to make one. I want to make one. It's just a matter of when. When would be a good point of making them.
Okay.
Pretty much.
Gotcha. So, Gumroad versus Jinxie. Gumroad has had a fair amount of controversy lately. But you still use them as a platform. So I'm curious, what are your thoughts about the platform, and I guess comparison with Jinxie? Why do you choose to stay with Gumroad? And this isn't a judgment. I'm not judging you. I'm merely asking because I'm not an avatar creator. I use whatever is on whatever site. But I'm just curious as to what are your thoughts about Gumroad versus Jinxie?
So in my opinion, Gumroad is the better platform for my customers to buy an avatar. Gumroad is better purchase because Gumroad has a library system. I know Jinxie has a library system too, but Gumroad is a company that exists for a much longer time than Jinxie, and Gumroad is not dependent on avatar sales. Gumroad has people sell everything on Gumroad, not just avatars. So that's one thing for me that I like more. I know the controversy about certain changes on Gumroad, and they are every creator that feels if there's a creator that sees this and they feel offended by what I'm about to say, I don't really care. But a lot of people just don't understand how Gumroad works. It's there was recently they said they upped their fees, but they didn't up their fees. It's just you have Gumroad Discover, that is outside of your store. Gumroad has their own marketplace where they advertise products through an algorithm, and if you want your avatars to appear there and be promoted by the algorithm more, than just being like on Gumroad Discover. Even if you have your avatar not be promoted by Gumroad Discover, you can still put the name in and find the avatar. You can still put in Heartmarksman and find the avatar. But if you give Gumroad a little bit more of a percentage than just 10, then they promote your avatar more aggressively. They promote your product more aggressively on Discover. And what people didn't understand was like back then, before Gumroad's recent changes, you could decide how much you want to give Gumroad, and the more you give Gumroad, the more aggressive they promote your avatar. But then Gumroad was like, okay, people don't really use it, so we make it a flat 30%, and every avatar gets promoted equally, you know? And people didn't understand. They were like, flat 30%? I have to give 30% away from my avatar? No, you dumbass. You have to give 30% on Discover sales, not on your normal sales. There's still 10%. Like, I still pay 10% on each sale. And people be like, boy, yeah, but the Discover sales are probably a lot. No, I sell 1%. Below 1% of my sales are from Discover. So if one person once in a while, I have to give 30% away instead of 10, that's totally fine. I'm not dying from this. But you know what I would die for? Like, Jinxie is a platform that is fairly new and is run by a person from VRChat, you know, by a VRChat user. And me personally, I don't trust them. I don't like it much because they are very biased. You know, it's at the end of the day, in my opinion, like, Jinxie is a circle jerk. If I can say it that way, Jinxie, in my opinion, is a circle jerk. Like, there were controversy with like creators saying that Jinxie is biased, that avatars of the friends from the friends of the creator get promoted more, and people that are disliked by the owner of the site gets on purposely less promoted than others. And they said like, oh no, that's not the case, I would never do something like this. But then one of their good friends created an avatar, and there's a huge banner on Jinxie, on the Jinxie landing page. This avatar releases right now, get it. And I'm like, okay, sure, buddy. There's no bias in Jinxie. Yes, definitely not. And a lot of creators, at least that I am good with, they understand. A few people see it the same way as I do, and a few people see it a different way, and everyone, it's a free market, everyone can go wherever they want. But I will not go to Jinxie anytime soon. And the other thing is, for me, Gumroad takes care of a huge chunk of my taxes. Gumroad takes care of them for me. And the less I have to do tax related, the less money I have to spend for a tax agent to do that work. So Gumroad is not only taking work away from me, like taking workload off me, they also save me money and money I would pay to my tax agent. And if I'm honest, 10% is a fair deal in my opinion. Them taking 10% of the avatar for all the work they do for me is a fair deal. I don't see anything wrong with that. That's just my opinion. And of course on Jinxie I could probably make a few bucks more. I could probably make a 50 cent more or something like this, or a euro more per avatar sale. But I would have to reinvest that money into giving it to my tax agent to take care of the additional taxes, the tax work that is created by that. And you know, me myself, the Jinxie platform is not, especially the leaders of the platform, I don't trust them with my income. It's just, I don't. And you know, it's not a small amount of money, you know, it's like my whole year's worth of money is created by this by this business, and I don't trust them with that. But everyone can do it however they want to.
I think that's a pretty balanced and fairly like well-rounded opinion. Like you looked at both options and you've made your conclusions about them, and I think that's perfectly fine. I think that makes sense. Makes sense to me. So yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So if someone wanted to get started in not VR, but wanted to get started in avatar creation, what would be your recommendation for them to get started? And where would be the first place you would recommend someone who's new at avatar creation to begin?
The big question is, do they want to make avatars for themselves, or do they want to make avatars to sell them in the future? There's a huge difference.
Okay.
In what I would tell them, because let me start with starting to make avatars. I would tell them it's very hard these days. It's very, very hard these days coming up as a new creator, because if your stuff is not really, really unique and really good off the get-go, people they don't care. You're just another one, That because these days getting to start making avatars gets easier and easier and easier, and making entry level avatars is so easy. A lot of people can do it these days, and a lot of people try to make a little bit of pocket money with that, and there's nothing wrong with that, of course. But it's easier when to be a creator if there's only 100 creators. But if there's 10,000 creators, it's much more difficult for you to stand out, right? Imagine how much easier it was 20 years ago or like 15 years ago on YouTube, and look at it now. Same with Twitch. If it's like really your passion and you just do it because you love it, of course, then do whatever you want. But if your goal is to make it like professionally, I think it would be very, very difficult, and it would be a hard grind. But if you want to make it privately for your own, then just start. There's so many easy, basic entry-level tutorials on YouTube, for example. You can just see like, okay, there's the first creators, like there's a video of someone explaining, okay, there's a video series, for example, I don't remember the creator, but it's very, very easy to find on YouTube, to be honest, where they were like, I have a body here, I got this body there and there, and then I bought this face over here. Now I show you guys how to put that together, and then okay, now we have the body. Next video I will show you guys how to make a t-shirt for it, or pants. And I think that's how I would start. I would start putting an avatar together, and maybe buying some assets, a t-shirt, and maybe pants that you like, and then putting them on the avatar, and then make everything work, and then slowly like building up on that, putting more detailed stuff on it, and making cooler stuff, and making more stuff, maybe making your own stuff. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Start with the tutorials.
I'm drinking something.
Yeah, no, that's sure fine. Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense. So I think we've covered like a good deal of your avatar work. I specifically stayed away from it, talking specifically about Blair, and mainly focused on just what you were doing overall, like as a avatar creator in general. You already know my feelings about Blair, so I don't, and people who watch my stream already know too. Right? Yeah. So I like the crazy, yeah, like, well, I'm very, 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 very happy with her. We'll say that. Yeah.
I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about what we do on this podcast. We talk to everybody about this sort of thing, but your love life, talk a little bit about that.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh God.
That's we do that for everybody.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So.
That would be interesting for sure.
Okay. So
what do you want to know?
All right. Well, I mean, you had a girlfriend in Japan, and which I guess didn't work
Yeah.
out because you had to move. Like, was that just did that like end like immediately?
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty
Okay,
much.
gotcha.
Not exactly, but pretty much, yeah.
Okay, okay.
And it was the last girlfriend I had. It was the last partner I had.
Hmm.
Since then, I didn't have a partner.
Hmm.
Yeah. Single since then, single like a Pringle.
So, is there any particular reason for that? Is that a personal choice, or is that just you haven't found someone who fits the bill yet?
I think it's a mix. I think it's a mix out of multiple things. So I didn't find a person that just fits me. But then another part of me is like, I just want to focus on myself. Like right now, I have something going. I have more like right now I have a momentum going myself, and I want to keep this momentum and see where it takes me. And I think right now in my life, I don't have like having a partner takes a lot of time and dedication, and I want to take this energy, I want to spend it on myself and making avatars, working on my business. Basically, I want to spend that energy and invest it into myself, into growing as a person, growing taking care of my business and growing as a person, getting more independent, and all of that stuff. So definitely, like everyone feels lonely once in a while.
For sure, yeah.
Like sometimes if I sit there, like I work like into late into the night. Sometimes I work till like 5 or 6 in the morning. Very often I work. In fact, I work until like 5 or 6 in the morning. And sometimes then, if you're in the middle of the night and everything's quiet and you lay in your bed, you'll be like, oh, it would be nice if I wouldn't be alone right now, right? I think everyone has these feelings sometimes. But like I just want to focus on myself right now. Though I'm probably getting a dog.
Oh.
Probably getting a dog soon.
Okay.
Yes,
okay.
in April. Are my plans to get a dog. Because sometimes I need something to take me away forcefully from like obsessing too much over like doing what I do, and sometimes I need to I think getting a dog would be a healthy thing for like my mind, and maybe a little bit of a reality check for myself. That there's more things to life than just working on the stuff that you like doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I can definitely understand the need to want to focus and stay dedicated to what you're working on. I think that's necessary. Like you have to have that kind of mindset because I think like in my case, like I'm very much driven by my desire to not have to work a regular job anymore. So
Listen,
Yeah.
it's like I would like if I can avoid it, I will never want to do it either.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
I get you. I can totally get you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I totally get you.
And so it's like the fear of like falling into that again, because I've tried many times and I failed many times, just to kind of like make my own way. So now that I'm actually like, for the most part, doing it, I understand the idea of wanting to like hone in on that, but having like something like a dog to kind of like keep you grounded in reality and not have you be so wrapped up in what you're doing professionally. I think that's pretty healthy. So
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I don't get out of the house for like 1 or 2 weeks. I don't get out of the house, and
Same.
like I personally don't mind it. It's not bothering me, but I'm not stupid. Like I know that's bad. Like I know that is not good. You know what I mean? It's not bothering me now, or this exact thing is not bothering me now, but I know it's not a good thing. Let's say it like that.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah, for sure. So, like, when it comes to like relationships in general, like whether it be platonic or romantic, what do you personally look for in someone who is like, someone that, I guess, like, what are your personal standards, if you have any, when it comes to being involved with the person? I guess we'll kind of focus on the romantic aspect of it, but obviously, I think being a friend to somebody first, it goes hand in hand with romance also. I think they should be together in that regard. They shouldn't just be romantically involved with someone. You should be like a close friend for sure. So like, what are your standards with regards to like finding someone that fits like something that you would be looking for?
I mean, it's pretty much like a person that is interesting. You know what I mean? It's like a person that has something going for them. Like if you have a, let's say, if there's a person that the only thing they do after work is like doom scrolling on TikTok, I'm like what am I supposed to do with you? You know what I mean? Like you so, and it's like in general, like I want a person that makes my life better instead of more complicated and more difficult. So in addition to my life, a good positive addition to my life instead of a negative one. And just someone that has something going on in their life. They don't have to be crazy successful or anything. Like, as long as they are independent and they are confident. I really like confident people. And how to say? It's like I want them to be confident, independent, have something going on, and are just like passionate about something, something that is not just existing. I don't know, like some people just exist, they just exist, and I can't. Like, I think this is very unattractive to me. People that just exist.
Yeah. That makes perfect sense to me. Like I'm a lot of those things I could definitely relate to. So yeah, totally makes sense. Like, were those the same standards that you had when you had your girlfriend back in Japan? Like, did she fall into those categories, or have things changed for you as you got older?
No, she fell into those categories for sure. Like back then I didn't have these standards, but she for sure fell in these categories. She was like very ambitious, crazy, like ridiculously confident. Like, the typical Japanese girls are very shy and everything. She was the opposite, like the opposite. She was like crazy confident, crazy outgoing, and the total opposite of a typical Japanese girl. And that's why I liked her very, very much. And but she had a lot of things going for her in life. She was in a very, very, very hard and expensive but worthwhile education to be a head nurse. And in Japan, a nurse is one of the most, if not the most well-paid job for women, is being nurses. And of course, if you're the head nurse, then that's a pretty good place to be as a woman in Japan. So like this obviously the money is like, who cares about money and this thing. Like I some people do, but I don't. But it made her obviously very confident. If you have something going on in your life, if you're proud of what you do, and if you have something to be proud on, obviously you're more confident too, and that made her really attractive to me.
Hell yeah. Okay. So, are there any aspects of yourself, like you said, you want to like use your energy for yourself and focus on what you're doing? Are there any parts of yourself that you think that you still need to work on? That you think may be still like unattractive to somebody at this point in time in your life?
Yeah, I think, I'm a little bit stubborn. I'm a little bit like I'm very stubborn sometimes, and sometimes I would say I'm too stubborn, and I'm too easily distracted by things, and sometimes I have a little, like, sometimes it's not that big of an issue, but sometimes I notice that I have a hard time accepting opinions of other people. Like, I notice that myself, that I have that issue sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, especially if the opinion are like crazy opposite, like if they're like the total opposite of me. Sometimes I have a hard time understanding them, or like understanding them. Maybe not understanding them, but leaving these people be, Like, sometimes you should just say, okay, fuck it. Fuck it. They do what they... Like, sometimes I can't leave it be. Yeah, I think that's my issues.
So basically your stubbornness to people whose opinions you disagree with?
That, yeah, and stubbornness for like, I'm very, very stubborn in many things in life, yeah. And sometimes I'm a little bit I just remember that sometimes I'm a little bit how do you say that, picky with money. How do you say it? There's a word for it. Not greedy,
frugal,
but like, frugal, yeah. If you don't want to spend want to spend money,
it's frugal. Yeah.
Yes. Sometimes I'm very frugal. Oh yeah, I'll be like this. Sometimes there's like tiny things, and I'm like, nah, I'm not spending money on that. Like, what the fuck?
I would say that was a good thing.
Sometimes I'm a little bit.
I would say that's a positive.
I mean, yeah. It kind of. I think it's a net positive, but sometimes I'm doing it a little too hard. Sometimes I'm like, yeah. Yeah, I think sometimes I'm doing it a little too much, That could be potentially be unattractive to people. To some people.
Like,
to some
you don't
people
want to
it's
spend
nice,
you don't
but-
want to spend money on me. That's gonna be a no. That's saying.
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, I mean, if that's what the person that's interested in me cares about, like, oh, I won't spend money on them, or like they have this like very strong opinion about like, oh, gift giving, like, I'm not much of a gift giver. Like, I give gifts when I feel inclined to, regardless of the time, But like, if it's like such a big deal, then like, I don't know. I think it's good to be smart with your money, to not spend it on dumb things that really can wait or that are unnecessary. Like there's more to life than having things,
Yes. Yeah. Like in Germany, there's a saying that being wealthy comes from saving money, not from spending it. And I think that is very true.
Yeah. Like you will
being smart about it,
You will have money if you spend less of it. It's like it's
Exactly.
not a crazy
You have
concept.
more money if you spend less.
Yeah,
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So
As sad as it sounds, money is very important. Money is very, very important. If not the most important thing we have with health. I think health and money is sadly the most important things in human life, day-to-day life at least.
So what would be for you? What would be a deal breaker for you when it comes to relationships or being involved with someone? What would be like, if this person has this quality or these qualities, and just be like, yeah, that's definitely not going to work for me.
It's like if it's a person that's not confident, a person that is untruthful would be a deal breaker, and a person that's unsupportive, because I'm like to be honest, I think if I get into, like, the person that gets into a relationship with me basically needs to be supportive of me a lot. You know, they need to understand I have some special needs in a certain way.
Like
and they have
what?
to deal with it. They have to be fine with it. Yeah. Then I'm just like, you know, like a very eccentric person. Let's say I'm a very eccentric person, and they have to be able to deal with that. You know, they have to be able to sometimes not take things I say personally, or deal with me and just, you know, sometimes let stuff be, you know. And yeah, I'm hard to deal with sometimes, to be honest. So they have to be very they have to be, and someone has to be able to put me in my place sometimes, you know, if I'm like going too crazy. So someone that is like, don't do that, like stop. You know? Someone that like, yes, someone that can stay eye to eye with me, you know, in like, let's say I have an argument with them, like if I steamroll this person in an argument, it's like, this will not work out. I need a person that's like eye to eye with me, you know, and at least in that type of thing.
I understand that. Yeah. And when it comes to like relationships and like, do you think that VR chat relationships are possible, plausible?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. The thing is, what I always say is, VRChat relationships work. Of course, they exist. We all know they exist, but they run on 10 times the speed from normal relationships. So they start 10 times faster and they end 10 times faster as well. And yeah, I think it's because people spend so much time together. Because if people get into an online relationship, they spend 24/7. As much time as they can, they spend together, and then everything goes faster, you know.
Do you think that's a good thing? Do you think like the speed of things? Because like we were talking earlier about how experiences of VR chat can go pretty quickly, at a pretty high speed. Do you think that's a positive or a negative? The fact that people can meet each other so quickly and become, I guess, attached to people so quickly. Do you think that's a positive or something that people should be wary of? And
you're an adult.
Yeah, and like how it applies to you.
If you, like, in my opinion, if you're an adult, you know what you're getting yourself into. Do whatever you want. You know, I think for me it's not a net positive and not a net negative. It's just neutral to me. But I think this is a fact that all, in my opinion, it's a fact that everything goes quicker. But if it's positive or negative, I can't say. I have no opinion on that, honestly. For some people it can be bad, and for some people it can be good. I think.
Okay. All right, and I guess I'll just kind of throw this out there because I didn't really ask. What's your what is your sexual preferences?
Oh, I don't. Everything. I like everything.
Okay.
Everything.
That's fair.
Everything. But I am. They just have to match my needs in all type of ways, right? So if as long as they do that, the gender does not. I don't care about the gender. As long as they fit to me, the gender doesn't matter at all.
Oh, okay. So, like, you said that you were eccentric, and like I know, like all creative people are eccentric in their own way. Like I'm eccentric in my own way, and then people get me confused and misunderstand things about me because of just like the way that I am and function. But like, what can you give an example about like a way that you're eccentric?
I don't know. Sometimes like my opinions are just very harsh. Like my opinions, like I don't care about people's feelings sometimes. You know, if I have an opinion, I just say it. And if people don't like it, then boo-hoo, like womp womp. I don't really care. I don't. If I hurt somebody's feelings, then it is what it is. You know what I mean? And I think this is, at least from my understanding, that's like very eccentric. My opinions are sometimes they are very, let's say, polarizing, and I don't hide anything. I say everything, no matter how like polarizing it could be. I say everything out loud, everything I think. And if someone dislikes it, they can tell me, but I don't really care. Except for if they have a good, if they tell me they dislike it because of this and this and this, and their reasoning is good, then I don't mind saying that they have a good point. But if someone doesn't have a good point, I'm just like, I don't care what you have to say to me, to be honest.
So yeah, you really just want to have if someone's going to challenge what you think about something, you want them to have a good reason, like an actual, like, you want them to actually be thinking about what it is that you said and give like a good rebuttal to your words, to your way of thinking.
Yeah, they have to know what they're talking about, right?
Right.
Like in the first place, they have to know what they're talking about, and then they have to give me a reason to change my opinion about it. If they can't provide that, then why should I change my opinion? That's how I think it is.
Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And there's some people, it could probably some people don't like that. There's a lot of people that just like, make everyone happy and tell everyone, oh yeah, you kind of like. I'm not that. I'm not a people pleaser. I say whatever I think I say, and if it's offensive, then so be it.
Honestly, I think more people should be like that, to be real. I think more people should have.
I agree.
Yeah, people should not be afraid to speak their mind, and people don't like it, Like, I think it's good if someone doesn't like something, they shouldn't just say, oh, I don't like this thing. They should be like, I don't like this thing because of this and this and this, and then have like a mature discussion about that. I think that's how adults communicate. But yeah, I think you're right. There are a number of people who just get their feelings hurt because they just expect everyone to be nice for the sake of being nice, or that their opinions should be like accepted just because, just because. So, that's not how the world works. So.
Yeah, if someone has a stupid opinion, I'm just tell them like that's like you're stupid. If something has a stupid opinion about something but I like, I just go up to them and be like, "Oh, what you just said was fucking stupid. Like, stop, just stop, just stop, just don't."
Yeah. I think just more like. Obviously, there's a way to say things, but I think just more honesty and more willingness to be understanding of other people's opposing opinions, and not to simply just explode if someone disagrees with you about something. I think we need more of that in the world. So, I think.
Yes. No, I don't. Like me personally, if someone disagrees with me, I don't get offended. I'm just like, oh, you don't disagree with me? You don't agree with me? Okay.
Okay.
I don't care about it. Like except for if they have a good reasoning, right? But I don't get this. It doesn't faze me at all if someone is like disagreeing with me. I'm just like, okay, then I don't care.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense to me. So, I have a couple more questions for you. A couple more.
Yes.
So, where would you like to be in 2 years?
In 2 years. 2 years, then in 2 years I'm probably almost 30 years old. Probably almost 30 years old. To be honest, if I can do what I do now, if I can do what I did for the past 2 years with the same amount of success in the next 2 years, I would be happy. Like right now, everything goes great. Everything is amazing. If it can stay that way, that would be nice. Honestly.
Okay.
And that's
no one to move anywhere. No, it's not boring. I'm just like I'm like you're happy where you are. Like keeping things simple. There's nothing wrong keeping things simple, but like if it's just like having a good career.
Like to move. I would like to move out of Germany. Like, I dislike Germany a lot. Like, Germany takes a fuck ton of taxes off me, and and then I take this fuck ton of taxes and spend it on exclusive bullshit. Like, exclusively just on garbage. Nothing that benefits me or people in Germany, in my opinion at least, in any way. Not even in the tiniest way. But it's a totally different subject. So I'm tired of giving Germany my tax money. I would like to give a country that actually do something good with it. My tax money instead. There's a few countries I would like to go to. That I would like to move to, but I don't see that happening in the next 2 years, to be honest.
What are some of those countries?
I like Finland. I like Sweden. I like Poland a lot. In my opinion, Poland is a very, very nice place to live. In my opinion, personally, like safety-wise, and you know, government, like how the government acts and stuff. In my opinion, Poland is probably the best country to live in Europe right now. And I would like South Korea. I would like to at least live there for like a couple of years. So yeah, South Korea, Poland, Finland, Sweden, Canada, and the US, and yeah, that's probably it. That is probably it. Honestly. Oh, Netherlands. The Netherlands. I like the Netherlands too.
All right.
They're pretty based as well.
Cool. All right. So, what advice would you give to those who are listening in? Like, and it could be about anything. It could be about avatar creation. It could be about life. It could be about literally anything. But what is one piece of advice that you personally live by that you would like to share with people who are been listening?
Mm, Let me think about that. Like, I think I'm I I am an overthinker. And I think a lot of people are overthinkers as well. And I know how hard it is to not do that, but I think getting rid of that habit of overthinking stuff would be beneficial to your life to no end. And the earlier you can get this habit of like out of you, I think the better that is. I think this is one of the worst habits you can have, because even if you make a mistake in your life, even if it's a big mistake, as as long as you don't go to jail, like you know, whatever, like life goes on. Like in like 5 years later, no one even thinks about that, and no one cares. It's like, mm, I would say I'll tell people to take risks if they can, and live healthy, take risks, live healthy, and experience, especially if the people are younger. Because I mean, I'm not old, but I'm not in early 20s anymore, right? But like, especially people that are in early 20s, they should do the stuff that they like as much as they like, as much as they can. Because the older you get, the more responsibilities you get, and yeah, just life. People always think life gets easier the older you get, but it doesn't really get easier. Not, at least not in my opinion. So yeah, I think I think people should, especially if you're young, like early 20s, you should like do everything you want to do and not be afraid to like make mistakes. As long as the mistakes are in a legal, in the legal system,
Right.
like, of course, don't go to jail, and don't take drugs, no drugs. I never, my entire life, no, like, I'm for real, like, I never took drugs, no, I never smoked a cigarette once, I never drunk alcohol once, and I never smoked weed once, and nothing ever.
Wow.
don't do it. Just don't do it. Just don't. There's nothing beneficial about it. Not even like no. It's literally just a waste of money. No matter what it is, even if it's just alcohol, it's literal poison that you're drinking.
True.
Don't do it. And
True.
that's my opinion.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
I think it's wild that you live in Germany and you don't drink. That's pretty impressive.
Because my dad used to be, and probably still is an alcoholic. So I grew up with like a pretty bad example
I
of
see.
that.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that will do. You see, that will pretty much turn you away. Like,
Yeah.
but he, to be fair, he was never like aggressive or like abusive. Like, never. But it's just like this man is like in his 50s, and he's basically like imagine you like drink alcohol every day a lot for 30 or 40 years for like 30 years.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he's not in good shape. Let's say it like that.
Yeah. I would imagine not. Yeah, that's a lot. Like everything in moderation, you know. But I can definitely understand just like those are the people who have grown up with like parents or siblings who have like drank a lot and like either like just aren't in good shape. Those are the people who typically just stay away from that stuff, which I think is great. Like you're not missing out on anything by not partaking in those things. You can still enjoy life and enjoy VR chat without those things. I think that's great.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I can.
Yeah.
I don't need to drink alcohol to have fun in the VRChat, for example, or
Right.
to have fun on a party.
Mm.
I mean, I never have fun at a party, but I don't think alcohol wouldn't change that. To be honest, but, like,
That's
to
such an
go to
introvert.
VRChat to have- yeah, no, but even in VRChat, like there's so many people that like go to VRChat and they drink. Like I don't need to do that. Like if I don't know if I need to drink alcohol to have fun, like something's already wrong with you. Like
Fair.
you already like as soon as you drink for a different reason than just enjoying the taste, it's already too much. It's already abusing it,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah. I think that's perfectly fair, perfectly reasonable opinion to have. Absolutely.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Happy to hear that.
Yeah. I completely agree. And I drink, but I drink like very, very like moderately, because like I like being in shape. I can dance for hours. Like I like having like a healthy body. So like it's definitely not something that people should do in excess. Absolutely. But I respect people who just like, yeah, I don't do it at all. Like all my respect, for sure.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, personality or looks?
Personality, definitely. Like looks are like listen, I'm in 2 years I'm 30, and that is not like like I'm sorry, but most people in their 50s, they don't look their best anymore, and so if no, like personality all the way.
Okay. And where can people find you? On the internet.
Where can people find me on the internet?
Yeah, your information.
So it's so I have an X profile. That is, Heartmarksman. Let me double check real quick.
It's Heartmarksman VR.
It's like Heartmarksman VR, yeah. Exactly. So it's Heartmarksman VR on Twitter, but that's not where you should go. You should go to my Gumroad, and that's let me find out the exact link, because it's heartmarksman.gumroad.com. That's where you can find all my work that I do. Yes.
Alright.
And I have a Discord server too, where I'm actually very active. So I'm probably the person or one of the people that types and texts the most on my Discord server. So if people listen to that happen to like me and want to like talk to me, like maybe a little more, or are more curious about my avatars or whatever, like looking at my Gumroad page, there's a really easy easy way to join my Discord server. There's a link on the very top. And if anyone has questions that they want to ask, that's why they can reach me the easiest.
All right.
Pretty much, yeah.
Hell yeah. Okay. So, where you guys can find me, if you're interested in learning more about me, if you're watching this on Twitch, hey, thanks for watching on Twitch. You can find me on YouTube at Nepherti, with one eye. But if you're watching this on YouTube, thanks for watching on YouTube. I really do appreciate that. You can find me live on Twitch at twitch.tv/Nepherti with 2 eyes, and also on Twitter X, Nepherti with 2 eyes. And if you would like to know more information about the podcast, the guests that I have on, the people who, when podcast episodes are released, if you'd like to know more about that, you can follow the other Twitter X profile at Sweet Talking Pod. And you can find out all the information there and about past and upcoming guests on there. And of course, there's also my Patreon where you can get exclusive content, past and present content on my Patreon at patreon.com/Nepherti. And that'll all be down below for myself as well as Hart as well. But we'll be wrapping up the live portion of the podcast for you guys who are tuning in. We'll be wrapping that up, but there will be some additional content. We'll be continuing our conversation with Hart over on Patreon. So I hope you guys will, if you're interested in seeing that and involving yourself with that, you can head over to my Patreon. You can start subscribing for just $1, and you can see more of. If there's anything that's interesting to you, you can partake of that if you so choose. But for those of you who are watching on YouTube right now, I appreciate you tuning in. But yeah, we'll be wrapping up that part for you guys. So thank you so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate that, and thank you very much to Hart for being my guest, my 53rd guest.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that very much.
Yeah. Still nervous?
Actually, yeah. No, that's fine.
Yeah. See. It just takes a little while. Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
But yeah, I really do appreciate you being on. I'm glad it was a good time. I enjoyed talking with you, and we will continue in just a little bit. But for those of you who are tuning in on YouTube, thank you again for watching. If you enjoyed the conversation, please leave a comment, and most definitely hit the like button if you enjoyed anything that you heard this evening, or whenever you may be watching this. I hope you go ahead and hit that like button and leave a comment. Let me know what you thought of it. And of course, reach out to Hart. Go find their avatars, learn more about what they're doing, and then keep tabs if you're on VRChat. I think you'll really like their selection. I mean, obviously, this again is one of Hart's newest avatars. She was made pretty 2 months ago, and back in November, I think, November-ish.
Yeah, a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 to 3 months ago.
Yeah. So yeah. If you are interested in seeing more of their content, definitely go over to the Gumroad, and I will have a link on my streams for those of you who watch me live. Since I am actually affiliated with Heartmarksman, and I'm happy to promote the really high quality, really stellar looking avatar. So yeah. There are many ways. So, but for the time being, thank you all so much for tuning in to episode 53 of the Sweet Talking Podcast with me, Nepherti, and my guest, Heartmarksman. I will see you all in the next one. Please take care, and thank you all so much for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.